It's good content. Who cares if you're bad? Yeah, so this is a new theory of stupidity by Sacha Golob, King's College London, in the International Journal of Philosophical Studies. I think this is from 2019. And as always, feel free to ask questions along the way. My first time reading it, we just have to see. Frank says, we don't have Dark Souls, we are Dark Souls. Ah, I see. Yeah. Okay. Writing in the Washington Post, the political scientist David Rothkopf recently attacked Americans' golden age of stupidity. His focus was, unsurprisingly, the Trump administration, and he offered a clear definition of the charge. Stupidity is the willful disregard of knowledge regardless of motive. Stupidity is an unwinnable proposition because those who battle facts are at war with reality. Stupidity thus constitutes a distinct form of failure, separate from but likely aiding and abetting political, ethical, and other shortcomings. By extension, conceptualizing it would be an important task. Yeah, I mean, this is just, yeah, but in terms of structure, like, yeah, this is just trying to win you over. It's trying to pull you in, you know? He didn't say anything stupid yet. I mean, maybe it could be, you could criticize it, but there's not enough there. Just trying to, you know, rah. Stupidity, let's find out. Author says, one might wonder if Rothkopf's analysis is sufficient. Willful disregard of the facts surely leads to pain for someone in the long run, but it also might deliver medium-term political success if a certain president acts deliberately with that in view, content to leave others to pick up the pieces after he is gone. Is he stupid as opposed to criminally irresponsible or narcissistic? One might wonder if it is necessary. What about what we might call dumbness, a brute inability to process complex ideas? This is not willful, and its locus often isn't facts themselves, but some broader understanding of their significance, yet you might think of it as a form of stupidity. Yeah, so like if it's not willful, you're just too thick to realize what you're doing is stupid, then are you being stupid because you didn't know it? So if you have to know it, then just people who are stupid are never doing stupid, which would seem a little like a disconnect. The questions multiply if we consider the sheer range of definitions given by the philosophical canon within recent centuries alone. For Kant, stupidity is not a willful disregard of facts, but a congenital inability to apply generic concepts to particular cases. Why, Kant? Why? Why are you this way? Just like, why, Kant? A congenital inability to apply generic concepts to particular cases. So that means, like, this is pencil here, and so like if I was unable to realize that this was a pencil because you know, pencil is a generic concept like a writing implement, and I couldn't figure out that this was a writing implement, that would be stupid. But that is so detached from like any fucking reasonable understanding of what's going on in stupidity. Like the inability to understand writing implements and like then a pencil is a writing implement, that's not what we would call stupid. That would be called like complete incompetence. Like, yeah. Prof. Laura. All right, yeah. But, okay. But, like, this is why, like, it's just, Kant is too damn up in the clouds all the time. For Adorno and Horkheimer, it is an acquired blind spot defined not in relation to knowledge, but to all capacities, practical and mental. All right, so a blind spot. Like, so say you are always, you know, walking along and you just don't see what's going on because you're like sort of focused because you never look down one alley and then you don't see $1 million lying there. Is that stupid? I don't feel like that's stupid. I feel like that's just sort of something else. But whatever. Rithia says, I think Socrates has a valid take on this in his little quip about wise people understanding they know nothing. Yeah, that's fair. It's like it's a second level order thing. People who just assume they know how to do a thing, that's stupid. Yeah. That is stupid. Yeah, the overconfidence that just like, I can do it, there is a problem there. I agree with that, Rethius. Like, you know, people just want to be able to do stuff sometimes, and they think, well, I'm smart, I can do it. And they don't realize things take effort, and like, you know, it's a lot of skill involved. And so there is something sort of foolish about that. I agree. MDD says, I'll show you what it means to be stupid. Yeah, I'm sure everyone here has a very good, has a lot of experience with this. Okay, for Schelling, it allegedly arises from an absolute lack of all madness. No fucking clue what this means. That's interesting. An absolute lack of all madness. That, you know, I have really no fucking clue what that means. All of these obviously generate very different extensions. Indeed, the extent of this is concealed because I have suppressed the problem of translation both within and between languages, the relationships between stupidity and idiocy, or between stupidity, dumbheit, and I assume this is German and then this is French. I apologize for my ignorance of languages. Furthermore, all require different responses and treatments if any are even available. Kant insists that stupidity can never be ameliorated. Well, I'm sorry, Kant. That would be very unfortunate for you, too. Because you're just dumb, in my opinion. You're very stupid. Alright, questions multiply again if we expand our corpus a little further. Whilst Rothkopf's golden age is of recent provenance, the critic Roberto Colasso takes a longer view, talking of the turn of the 19th century and the, quote, MDD says, copying one-liners from Continentals on these topics, when of course these one-liners will make no sense without context, they've been propped in. Yeah, but I mean, again, that's a good point. The author is setting stuff up. This is a long paper. They have a lot to say clearly, or they're going to just take a very long time to say nothing, but we'll find out. That's fair. Like, they're trying to just, like, set the stage at this point, but, like, you have to understand what is going on here. This is all the fucking, just the intro trying to get you worked up or interested. So these are more things for getting your palate wet, is trying to get you interested or get you hooked is what's going on. And so you're never going to actually get a full theory right here. You're just going to get hooks. That's all it is. So now we got some quote from Robert Colasso from talking about the 19th century. Prodigious eruption of la bêtise, I guess that's a stupidity in French, the beginning of a new era, obsessively followed primarily by three writers, Flaubert, Krauss, and finally Leon Bloy. End quote. No, yeah, exactly, Rethius. No one knows what it means, but it's evocative. Yeah, well, that's writing for you. MDD says, get excited, people. We are talking the stupid. The stupid. That's what we're going for here. So, Flaubert's compulsive concern with stupidity in particular has been widely discussed. One indicator of the depth of this obsession is that even his legendary avatars of stupidity, the idiot copy clerks Bouvard and Pécuchet, themselves succumbed to it. Quote, their minds developed a piteous faculty, that of perceiving stupidity and being unable to tolerate it. Insignificant things saddened them. Newspaper advertisements, a burgher's profile, an inane comment overheard by chance. This is actually kind of fair. Like, the fact that you're just getting angry about the wrong things, that is definitely something I would consider stupid. Like, if you can't focus on, like, the right things, that I would say that's actually not a bad example of stupidity. Okay. Continuing, as with the philosophers mentioned, each of the writers listed operates with highly specific visions of stupidity. In whatever way one understands the problem with Trump, it is impossible to imagine him trying diligently, like Bouvard and Pécuchet, to digest the latest scientific discoveries. Yeah, I mean, that was part of Trump's difficulty, is that he lacked discipline. He wouldn't try hard to do... he just didn't try hard. He didn't have that sort of thing. Shit. Alright, pre-rolls are back. But, he didn't... You could see, like, he wasn't interested in learning new stuff. He just wanted to, like, I'm not here to read, I'm here to lead, in the old, Simpsons joke. Like, he didn't want to understand. Yeah, it's like, let's just go back to the, bleach and, UV light sort of comment. Alright, so, see, finally we've gotten to, like, where the author is, like, out of the evocativeness. This paper has two aims: to present a new analysis of stupidity and to locate it in relation to the existing proposals. We need to understand this failing and its possible remedies, just as we need to understand the nature of epistemic success. The paper structure is simple. In section 1, I outline some problems we face in explicating stupidity and suggest some desiderata. Section 2 sketches a specific approach to the stupidity found in Kant and Flaubert, which serves as a foil for my own approach. In section 3, I introduce my new theory. I analyze stupidity as a form of conceptual self-hampering, characterized by a specific etiology and a range of deleterious effects. Rithia says, not only did he didn't want to understand, he looked down on understanding. Yeah, that was really, I mean, I don't think that is a failing of like knowledge. I think that's a moral failing. It's that he didn't value that other people knew anything more than he did, and I find that just completely ridiculous. That like he's never learned anything in his life. It's only what he's like kind of discovered for himself, which is just like, in some sense, weirdly admirable that he only trusts like his own knowledge, but like it's just completely ridiculously ignorant. Yeah. Yeah, desiderata, wanted, or things wanted, needed. Figure, yeah. It's one of these philosophy terms gets used all the time for no good reason. You don't need to use fucking big words just to say the goals of this paper are. You don't need to say the desiderata. You just say goals, and everyone will fucking understand. And that's why I don't use words like that, because I can just say goals, and it doesn't fucking do any, like, you know, bitching about philosophy, but like if you are not adding anything by using a big word, use the small word, then you have a wider audience. Now, I know all the philosophers in chat are like, yes, but I have to, you know, fit in with like the cool kids. I know, but like it's annoying. All right, because you have to pretend like you're like very scholarly. That's one of the things in philosophy. The way I write is the same, and I do it for a living. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, Rethius, you are correct. Like, that is the better thing. But, like, in philosophy, you have to, like, be socialized to being scholarly, and that's part of it. Yeah. And Prof says you have to pretend, and pretending is stupid. Yeah, you have to sort of fit in with the cool kids. Or, not the cool kids. The kids in power. That's what you're really doing. Rethius says the idea of writing to me is to be as clear and understandable as possible. And that's how philosophy should be, too. But it ain't. I mean, every so often, you have to use a fancy word because you mean something very specific. And then you can do it. But outside of that, there's no need to. And that's why desiderata should not be used if you don't have to, in my opinion. This is like, I have to write fucking tweets for a company and you just simplify as much as you can and then more. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. How much are you really saying in like whatever the word limit is? And that's the problem with Twitter. And we've gone over this in the past. The T-Win has a great paper on this, that when you reduce everything down to a tweet, you're losing all nuance. And so you now have a platform that inherently lacks nuance, and you're trying to have political discussions on it, and it's going to dumbify. Like, everything is going to get dumber because of that, because you can't actually make it as complicated as it is. Yeah, New Win stuff is amazing. Yeah, we've read his stuff on stream. This is before we ran into you, but like we've gushed about T-Win before, and we're hiring. Yeah, you're gonna DM me? No, we've read the stuff. I mean, you can DM me. This is why I bring it up. We really like his stuff. I mean, being on Twitch, he writes about video games too. Like, come on. Oh, DM Rethius, go ahead. Yeah. Ivan says, hey, Ivan. Speaking of stupid, my brother got me a whipped cream dispenser with a gas cartridge, and I assumed the lever was basically a binary on-off sensor. There was whipped cream everywhere. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, a lot of stuff to lick. MDD says, using complex jargon is a way of signaling you've been baptized in the philosophy literature. Exactly. I'm one of you, and this is how you recognize this. Exactly. And, yeah. It's a socialization thing. It's an in-group thing. So, and you can there's signaling you're doing by saying things in certain ways. So you're signaling I'm on this side of things, not on that side of things. So it gets complicated. You use a silly walk, okay? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so let me just get through this last little bit right here. In section 4, I show how this proposal meets the desiderata, so the goals, and I clarify where I have not done so already, how it diverges from existing accounts. My position is closest to a public health approach in contrast to the virtue-vice framework used by Engel or Mulligan. Interesting. I don't know what a public health approach is, like, don't be stupid and, like, learn how to not be stupid, which is, like, good for society, I guess. But we'll see what that means, because I have no idea what... Yeah, I don't know what that means. Okay. Problems with understanding stupidity. Author says, I begin with some of the challenges facing facing a theory of stupidity. Most obviously, people predicate the term of a vast range of things: people, actions, jokes, ideas, etc. The question of whether one use reduces to another is complex. Mill's view of the conservatives as the stupidest party might reduce to a claim about its members. In contrast, the post-doc can curse the stupid game of publishing, as we are right here, without thinking any of its participants are stupid. No. We curse the stupid game of publishing because some of the people in philosophy are stupid. That's not true. You were just wrong, author, on that. Some people are stupid. Prof. Laura and the other philosophers in chat, I had a thought today while walking along. You want to know why the reviewers always seem stupid? The people you're reading are smarter than the reviewers. So the papers you read, because they're good papers, are smarter than the people reading your papers. And so there's a disconnect between the good papers you read and the people that are reviewing them, because they're not the ones that probably wrote those good papers. They're just some schmo that like you, but that's the thing. So we are getting the wrong vision of who's the average philosopher is, because we're only reading good papers if we can help it. If we read bad papers, you stop. But so the fact that you have to filter what you read means that you are getting a skewed vision of philosophy. What's up, Frank? No? You disagree? Maybe. I've read a lot of philosophy papers. Let me tell you something. These people are stupid. Some of them, at least. Nay. Oh, you don't like it. Maybe that's it. Okay. But we're just in the beginning. We're screwing around. Yeah, with the paper. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. But again, this is just warming up, and we're just kind of screwing around now. They're wrong about this, but this is not their main point. They're just wrong about, philosophers aren't stupid, but yeah. Okay. Basic points about stupidity's place in the conceptual field are also unclear. Is its opposite intelligence or wisdom? Is its opposite intelligence or wisdom or something else? If predicated of a person, is it corrigible? Is it domain specific? People who talk of NFL players, and thank you for being here if you're from the United States and not watching Sunday Night Football. People who talk of the NFL players of having high football IQ or of being someone being emotionally dumb clearly intend to identify traits which may diverge from intelligence or stupidity in other areas. Matters are further complicated by broader questions that I won't address directly, such as the social role of performing stupidity. The Shakespearean fool is an intelligent character granted license by the trappings of the idiot. There's a football game. Yeah, I'm sure there is. But yes, there's sports ball tonight because football has started up. There was a football. It was amazing. Oh, there we go. I was watching the Green Bay play earlier for a little bit. The best way to order the debate is to examine the relationship between stupidity and a host of related notions. As Schlegel warns, much seeming stupidity is really folly. 3 terms or phrases in particular will be important. One is dumbness, understood as a lack of intellectual processing power of the type measured by IQ tests or some improved descendant of such tests. Piggers are going. I have no idea who the Piggers are. You watched the Bronco game. It was cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm American. I do kind of like my football. American football, that is. All right. So there's dumbness, which is you're bad at fake team. I figured. Intellectual processing. Author uses intelligent as the opposite of dumb. So you have more processing power, whatever that abstract property is or ability or power is. Few commentators on stupidity regard dumbness as the central issue. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. You don't want to just be like, people are stupid because they're dumb. If they're dumb, they may be doing the absolute best they can and being as clever as they possibly can. And you don't normally call people who are being as clever as possible stupid. You might say they're, not that intelligent overall, but they're doing the absolute best. And you don't sort of use stupid in those cases. In an influential collection by psychologists, the editors note, quote, all the authors focus on behavior of smart people. This leaves open the question of whether dumb, unintelligent people can be stupid. This is both tricky and non-trivial. Most of the contributors treat stupidity as a failure of the actor to optimally use her abilities or cognitive capacity. Yeah, and so this is where I was picking on. This is what I was picking up on, is that if you are using optimally use your cognitive capacity, it seems like that's when, when you fail to do that, that's when we call people stupid. So. Okay, and that's end quote. A failure to optimally use one's cognitive capacities is not equivalent to simply having weak such capacities, that is, to dumbness. Others, such as Kant, reject any alignment of stupidity and dumbness on different grounds, whilst attributing to the former some characteristics often assigned to the latter, such as being a congenital deficiency, which the author discusses in the next section. One reason why few 20th century authors focus on dumbness comes with the next phrase, intelligent stupidity. This can be partly traced to Musil, whose On Stupidity distinguishes two very different forms of stupidity. One is dumbness. The dumb person is dull of comprehension with the dim wit. The other is, somewhat paradoxically, even a sign of intelligence. This higher pretentious form of stupidity is defined not so much by lack of intelligence as failure of intelligence. It is the real danger, a cultural disease. Contemporary commentators frequently embrace this idea. Both Mulligan and Engels set aside dumbness models before switching to more sophisticated accounts of epistemic folly. Both cite Musil in support. I'm kind of with this so far. It seems like being stupid requires you to know better. I know we were discussing this, Prof. Laura, at a certain point, so now it's like I'm getting in what you were saying already. The last term we need is foolishness and its cognates. One way to understand foolishness is as a domain-specific failure to act prudently, for example, due to poor risk assessment. Stanovich highlights the case of John Allen Paulos, a noted mathematician who lost vast sums of money in increasingly ill-judged stock market wagers. The lesson Stanovich draws is that foolishness is distinct from cognitive ability and thus from dumbness. Another possible approach, which may or may not overlap with Stanovich's, is to align foolishness with Musil's higher stupidity. This is what Mulligan does. With some basic terms on the table, I can introduce the desiderata any account of stupidity should meet, and then add a few disclaimers. First, it should provide a clear story about the relationship between intelligence, stupidity in its higher and mundane forms, foolishness, and dumbness. Second, if a theory distinguishes stupidity from dumbness from a brute cognitive incapacity explicable in biological terms, it should explain why stupidity is so widespread and potentially even attractive. Third, it should recognize that stupidity is a gradable phenomenon. As Engel puts it, stupid or fool and their contraries are gradable adjectives. One can be more or less stupid. Yeah, you can definitely be more foolish than before. Like, I'm stupider now. I did something that was really stupid. You say really stupid. Like, that was stupid, and then there's really stupid, and that definitely means something. Finally, it should speak to at least some of the underlying issues in the philosophy of mind. Is stupidity a failure of knowledge or of understanding? Is stupidity incorrigible as Kant thought? It should also do justice to stupidity's apparent domain specificity, for example, by attributing stupidity to something sufficiently fine-grained, such as an act or an agent relative to a given context. Certain individuals may be stupid across all domains, but that should not follow from the basic apparatus. I'm wondering about the domain specificity here. It's like, if I don't know how to do something, am I being stupid or just ignorant? It's like, that feels like that's ignorance. You feel like you have to know something to be stupid in that area. So yeah. What's up, Adam Fighter? How you doing? Finally, some disclaimers. The claim is not that my theory captures every use of stupid. The causal, this is what's it called? Oh no, we're not going to click now? Grapes. This is the disclaimers where I'm going to pull back my claims here. It's going to shrivel up a little bit. Finally, some disclaimers. The claim is not that my theory captures every use of stupid. The casual application of the term makes this unrealistic. No, I think you actually should be going after the casual application. This is why I'm angry. I want to know when I call something stupid what that means. Compare the situation to that of retarded. There is no reason for the medical definition to be responsive to the word's appropriation as a slur. Similarly, if we were able to identify an explanatory robust use of stupidity that would give proportionate license to diverge from folk usage. That would give proportionate license to diverge from folk usage. I suppose. Further, I do not deny that other models of stupidity often identify interesting shortcomings. My claim is relatively modest, but still, I am sure, contentious, that the theory which follows meets the desiderata that it maps a significant number of the uses of stupid, that it provides a novel and robust analysis of an important form of cognitive failing, and that all of these features are closely interwoven. Okay, see, this is just annoying me. It says, okay, I may not do everything you want, but I really like what I do. It's like, this added nothing. I just get annoyed about people who write like this. Like, I know you have to, like, back up what you're saying, but they literally said they wasted a paragraph here just saying absolutely nothing. Wanting genius, yeah. Adam says there's a video on YouTube called The Laws of Stupid. It gives a chart. I enjoy the video because I can put places on the chart easily. Yeah, charts are cool. And, like, you can always drop links in my chat. I don't have a bot. The bot does not block those. I could, but I don't think I do. 2. A contrast case. Kant, Flaubert, and determinative judgment. One way to approach my theory is to contrast it with the view found in Kant and Flaubert. Kant defines stupidity as a failure of judgment. The lack of power of judgment is properly called stupidity, as such failing is not to be helped. Yeah. Judgment here is a faculty for discerning whether something is an instance of a rule or not. On the Kantian picture, the understanding is the faculty of concepts, and those concepts consist in packages of inferential rules. For example, conditionals such as, if X, then a body is a body, then X is extended. Judgment is the ability to apply such concepts to particulars or intuitions. Otherwise put, the power of judgment is the application of the universal to the particular. Stupidity consists in a lack of judgment and inability to make this application. It cannot be helped. Since any further rule offered would itself raise the question of its own application, someone truly lacking judgment cannot therefore be taught it. The stupid lack of mother wit, an inborn deficit which cannot be made good by any school. Yeah, see, this is just so damn unrealistic because clearly we learn stuff over time. And then you can make the thing. This is what expertise is. Like, what's it called? An expert can, like, pick out where the problem is, where a novice can't do that. That's clearly learned. You can see what the problem is, like, once you, like, have had expertise. So, like, a master mechanic can, like, listen to the way a car sounds and be like, I know what the problem is. A novice can't do that. It's like, so this is just, it seems completely wrong. Like, a doctor can look at a patient and understand what their sickness is. The novice doctor might not be able to do that. They have to run a bunch of tests. Like, once you know, then you can start to, like, do the concepts and get the instance of the concept. But clearly this takes time and effort. This is what expertise is. Now, it can be taught. It's just not easy, but that's part of the point. That's why some people are experts and other people aren't. But, like, this just seems wrong to me. Wow, you can really make a career of talking bollocks and get away with it. What a big con. Well, I mean, Kant is just very famous. So, I don't know. People love Kant. I'm not exactly sure why. I know why. Everything, if you can, like, I know why people love Kant. If you can get into it, it just sort of all comes together and makes sense. It's all sort of like one big, like, holistic view of the world. You're an idiot, but, like, it all works together and you feel really smart. And that's why people like it. It sort of, like, simplifies everything. Everything just sort of like, oh, I understand everything now. But, like, yeah, but a lot of philosophy is like that. Like, you think it's more like a cult. Like, you know, what Ivan Neo's trying to do. You get into it, you think you understand everything, you think you have a privileged view of the world, and then all of a sudden, like, everything's clear to you, and, like, you feel great. So, you know, but then the problem is you end up saying stupid things, but they don't sound stupid at the time. I'm sure, and I can guarantee you, someone's brought this up before, and the Kantians have a big old response for it. Excommunicado. The emote review I have, where you all put emotes in chat, is actually derived from excessive profanity. Oopsie. And excessive profanity. I shout him out because he's a great streamer. He's Australian, so maybe some people in Europe will have more of an opportunity to watch him. I don't get a chance to, but what happens is he's a big streamer and people come into chat and they talk shit, and you can kill them. You can ban them from chat by people throwing enough emotes in chat, and be like, all right, we pick this person, are they going to be killed? And then they ban them based on emotes in chat. So it's an emote review. And so part of my emote review is based on this, but it's really funny because, like, he has a little graphic and audio and it goes excommunicatio or whatever, and the guillotine comes down, a head falls off, and the person becomes banned. It's fantastic. Adam Fire says, I feel stupid is vague. I find that the list of people I consider stupid are the type of person who is bullish and stubborn to a fault. They make choice that do not correspond to the environment, like that scene in Zoolander with the gasoline station. Yeah, you're probably right that stupid is a vague term. And for people who don't, I never understood vague until more recently, and it's used in philosophy. Vague, a lot of times when it's getting used, is a term that means the concept has a lot of baggage to it. So whatever you think you're applying it, there's a lot of history there, and whatever the history is, kind of personal history or like theoretical history, whatever it is, there's a lot of history you are projecting onto the world when you say something's vague. So it's like, I don't understand what's going on. It's vague is because I know too many things and like I can't tell what's going on here. And that's right. I feel like that's one of the problems with stupidity is it's getting used in a million different ways. And so when you say something stupid, that's a good way of saying it. It's like you don't know exactly what concept is being applied. Valpa says, I enjoy that guy. I haven't watched for a while, but he's entertaining. Yeah, I love fucking Cody. He's great. Excessive profanity. He's really good streamer. It was a freaking gasoline fight accident. Buffalo says, I'm writing a novel review right now, and I'm doing a favor by farming everyone, which is very nice. Yeah, like I've said, you're not the first person to do this. Like other philosophers in chat have also farmed my stuff. So, but that's why it's a channel point reward. I generally take suggestions, but you know, it's like you have to be here, you have to be part of the community, and then I'm happy to read stuff. Yeah. So, continuing. This summary obviously raises numerous questions. For example, might problems of application be remedied by replacing abstract rules with simpler ones? Nothing is going to save Kant, my friend. Nothing. But what matters for current purposes is that for Kant, stupidity is compatible with a highly sophisticated understanding as he uses that term. The stupid may possess many complex, objectively valid concepts, that is, concepts which have instances and successfully track the key explanatory properties of the world. Indeed, this is not only compatible with Kant's theory, he explicitly presents it in those terms. Stupidity is a disease found in every learned man, a physician, judge, or statesman, with many fine pathological, juridical, or political rules in his head. Valpo says, do you have any thoughts about epistemological vagueness versus metaphysical vagueness? The problem with vagueness is I never use it because I didn't understand the term. And it's only recent that I had to ask somebody who wrote on vagueness to explain really what it meant to me. And that's where I just told you this thing where it's baggage. So the question then would be, what's metaphysical baggage versus epistemological baggage? Epistemological baggage makes sense. That you could know a lot of stuff and then you wouldn't be so sure what counted as certain forms of knowledge. Then you could have epistemological vagueness. Metaphysical vagueness would be something at a metaphysical level, and that'd be a lot harder because we define our metaphysics. We are not trying to like understand anything in metaphysics outside of what we define. So if we are like confused about the concepts we have, then it's a problem in metaphysics because those are things that we are trying to come up with. Now, if you're like religious and you think like the universe is set by some sort of higher being or whatever, then you might get some metaphysical vagueness like with the hermeneutical interpretation of like religious texts. Then you'd have like hermeneutical vagueness, and that's fair. That wouldn't be epistemological because it wouldn't be known. It would be how to interpret the universe in that case. But for me, I don't think you can have metaphysical vagueness because basically my understanding of vagueness is baggage, and if you have like metaphysical baggage, you can just drop that. That's not a problem. Go just get a better theory to begin with. So I would think that epistemological vagueness is sensical, metaphysical is not. Like I don't know what the reference of a metaphysical vagueness would be. Like you can coin it, but it'd be very, very specific to like some sort of metaphysics. You're tempted to think baldness is metaphysically vague. Why not epistemologically vague? Like we just don't know, or we just haven't defined it? Because okay. See, this is my problem. I don't use the term. So like bald, yeah. So people don't know. Like one of the chief examples of vagueness is when do you become bald? Like how many hairs do you have to have on your head when you are like becoming bald? So yeah. So I guess the question then is to explain it to the folks. Epistemologically vague would be like, we just don't know. There's a certain point, and this is called epistemicism, where you actually are becoming bald, and there is some sort of line, we just don't know it. Metaphysically vague would be, there is no, like, there's some sort of, like, metaphysical understanding of what it is to be bald, and we don't know it, but it doesn't matter if we know it. It's just that we can't tell what the metaphysics are. See, I would just drop the shit out of this. I don't give a shit. Like, that's my problem, is like I don't think in terms of vagueness. It's like, why is that an important thing? The quest, and this is me being like on my own, like this is not most people think in this area that this is a legit question. How do we actually understand vague concepts? I'd say then you're using the wrong concepts. Like, just they're not refined enough at that point. And it's like, is it vague? If it's vague, go someplace else. It's just like, it's not useful. DCI says, I think stupidity is best explained by a lack of neural pathways, but we don't have the right tools to identify which are wrong. Hence, we struggle to explain exactly why that person is stupid. So this is more the dumbness, I think, DCI. This is not what they were talking about stupid. This is the dumbness they were talking about. You may not know a fire is hot, and that's one neural pathway that's broken, but you might know it's hot, but touch fire anyway, and there's other neural pathway that's missing. Yeah, I think they're trying to distinguish between the fact that you know it, and then there's a problem with like your physical like reasoning ability, and they were calling that dumb. So it's like, I think the stupidity is more like you should have known better. Ivan Neo says, I don't think it's metaphysics, brain, or neural nets. They integrate a lot of different information sources, finding patterns across multiple sensory and abstract modalities. Stupidity is probably triggered by multiple different things, and there needs to be no closed form explanation definition. Well, I mean, is that just giving up, Ivan? Can't we know more? Like, just because it might be that way doesn't mean we can't investigate. There might be different forms of stupidity that are triggered by different things, but like, just give it, that sounds just like throwing in the towel there. I wouldn't do that. Yeah. The patent philosophy. There you go, Sensei Max. That's good. Oh man. Adam Fire says ambiguity in math is when a statement has more than one meaning. So the term ambiguity is the fact that you don't know which one of the author of a statement wanted is the right one is unknowable. Yeah, that's a distinction between ambiguity and vagueness. Ambiguity means there's multiple meanings, but they're not vague. You know which they are very clearly. So like, if you know the answer is 1 or 2, you know it is exactly 1 or the answer is exactly 2. It's not vague. The thing, vagueness would be saying the answer is somewhere between 1 and 2, and like you don't know anywhere where that, like where on the range it lies. So it's hazy. Like the whole thing is hazy. 1 and 2 are very distinct things. So that's the difference between ambiguity and vagueness. Yeah. Third part. Ivan says, I think the philosophical progress should not be explained that folk term has some simple set of criteria. It should be, what new concepts do we need to help us classify stupidity? Yeah, but we're going to get there too. I mean, they're going over the folk concepts first to like, give us a, get us into like what they are eventually going to give us as a definition. So this is just a build up to getting the new ideas. Ambiguity can be a form of vagueness. Yeah, I mean, these things definitely have overlap. But in philosophy, I'm just saying, is how it gets used. I was going to a philosophy of language talk, and I realized they were using vagueness very differently than I was. I was like, shit, even though this is philosophy, this is not the area of philosophy I'm in, and we use it completely differently. Because in logic and philosophy of science, it gets used one way, and philosophy of language with the linguists, the linguistics people, they use it differently. So I mean, you can translate them back, but you have to be clear because they were really, like, they were using vague and ambiguous, like, slightly differently than we were. Yeah, LPS does a whole different thing. Yeah, I did not know, and I was like, I felt like an ass. I was like, wait, could you just, like, please explain, like, this very simple concept? Yeah. Philosophy of language is a prerequisite. Meta-philosophy of meta-language. Yes, I mean, you have to know all the things. Okay. We're never going to get through this paper. We're on page 8 of 28. No, that's not true. We're about a third of the way from where we got to get to. Got to get to 24. So we're about a third way done. This is not... We can do this. We can do this. Okay. Yeah, so we're back talking about Kant. As Nuzo puts it, such learned individuals, quote, may know the universal truths and master all the concepts of their particular discipline, and yet they may still not be able to apply them correctly to a particular cases. You know what's weird about this? End quote. The computers have all the rules. The computers can't apply them. Are computers stupid then? It's, you see, And if this is what we're calling people who know all the rules and can't apply it, we're calling them stupid. But what I can write down all the rules and put them in a computer. Is the computer stupid because it can't apply the rules? It seems like there's a disconnect here. Adam Fire says, you can do it. You've been doing this for so long. You're the Mike Tyson of philosophy papers. I appreciate that. Mike Tyson was so far and away better than everyone else that, like, it was really scary. Yeah, bite its ear off. I mean, that is not a bad metaphor for philosophy. Chewing someone's ear off. Okay. So none of these figures are merely dumb, and Kant sharply distinguishes stupidity from dumbness. Yeah, the simpleton is he who cannot grasp much through his understanding, but he is not therefore stupid. And this is the thing. If you're going to start saying you are lacking neural pathways, then it's like, well, it's not your fault. Your neural pathways are just not responding. It's a biological thing. And that's what we're calling like dumbness or simpletons here. So it's just got to be clear about the distinction. All right, so furthermore, stupidity is different from foolishness as seen in Paulo's desperate gambling. When, quote, when people allow themselves to be taken in by treasure seekers, alchemists, and lottery agents, this is not to be attributed to their stupidity. Kant's vision of stupidity found its literary echo in Flaubert's Bouvard and Pécuchet. End quote. In Kantian terms, this is a satire on the insufficiency of the understanding in the absence of judgment. The protagonists imbibe tracts of scientific doctrine, but fail spectacularly when it comes to its application. Yeah, so like this is ChatGPT, but the fact that ChatGPT now knows how to apply it when asked a question, that's good. The problem is if it couldn't even apply it. TCI says, but stupidity is only discovered in hindsight, otherwise it's dumbness or it's a judgment by another. Yeah, you might, like, you know, hindsight's 2020, so you'd be like, oh, that was stupid. But, that's fair. So that's actually a good point, DCI. Like, are we always just going to be dumb until we find out we were being stupid? Yeah. It's a good point, yeah. I mean, I think that's not entirely going to be the case, and I suspect Prof. Lar is going to say something like, you could have known, you just didn't put the effort in. And so it's not that you discovered it in hindsight, it's that there was some sort of failure to understand at the get-go that you could have had. But, yeah. Yeah, well, I did read your fucking thing, so you sent me that, and I did respond to it. But I suspect that's where it's going to go. So, Kant's model of stupidity is somewhat puzzling. Initially, it calls to mind figures such as the brilliant but impractical professor. Yet this is not quite right. That trope concerns an inability to move from an abstruse theory to everyday concerns, whereas Kantian stupidity can manifest even with the most theoretical domains, arising in any gap between concepts and their application. And that's what I was saying. Like, this is a pencil, and you couldn't apply that it was a pencil. But that's not what we call stupid a lot of times. So one task would be to reconstruct why exactly he saw stupidity in these terms. Yeah, like why would you understand stupidity that way? But the author's present concern is rather with the relationship between his theory and my own. My theory is an important sense, the converse of Kant's. Okay. Adam says, that's kind of the subtle issue with being stupid. A stupid person never learns from experience, hence the bullish and stubbornness properties. Yeah, it's like there is a reflection thing there. Yeah. And you need the reflection or else you're being stupid. Knowing something is stupid is the learning moment though, right? Yeah, I guess that would be, well, you might not learn anything. You might just realize, it might be more of a realization moment than a learning moment. But that might just be semantics. Adam says, I have heard people, you suffer from high blood pressure and have 3 bypass surgeries and then out of hospital return to eating salami. Yeah. But there might be other things going on there too. But yeah, it's like, do you know you're being stupid at that point? You might know you're being stupid at that point. So it's like they have the reflection. It's like, but they may also have a compulsion to eat salami. Now I want salami, damn it. Okay. So the author is saying they have the converse of Kant's theory. How so? In Kant's broader framework, he in fact distinguishes 2 notions of judgment. What I've discussed here and what the first critique calls simply judgment, he later labels determinative judgment. The other, and for my purposes, key form, he calls reflective judgment. The third critique summarizes this distinction, quote, if the universal, the rule, principle, law is given, then judgment, which subsumes the particular under it, it is determinative. But only if the particular is given in judgment has to find the universal for it, then this power is merely reflective. Okay, so if you only have a particular, so if you only have one of these, and then you have to figure out what it is, like it's a pencil, so you're reflecting on the object, not picking out the object of pencil from all the concepts you have. You don't like to eat horse, deer salami? Oh, okay. What are you guys? I mean, you don't have beef salami from where you are? Like, I just have regular beef salami here. Okay. Okay, for yeah, beef only. Like, what? I mean, I'm sure you can have the other stuff, but like, I mean, you can just get regular beef. So, for Kant, stupidity is a disease of determinative judgment and inability to go from universal to particular. Oh, one of the things was during the pandemic, like, all the salami was gone. I couldn't buy any fucking salami. It was really annoying. I had to go, like, specialty stores to get salami. It was, like, weird. Maybe people were stocking up on, like, you know, stuff that lasted a long time. I don't know, but I was like, come on, I just want to have a salami sandwich. All right. Yeah. Dude, it was a real New York problem. Like, we had there was a run on cream cheese. There was a severe lack of cream cheese, so bad that there was a run on cream cheese. It made the news. People were like going like 2 states over to like Pennsylvania to get cream cheese. Like Philadelphia cream cheese, like it was like you had to pay top dollar for like cream cheese in New York. It was like a real problem for a few weeks. Like the cream cheese factories couldn't output enough cream cheese or whatever. Their supply chain was down, and like there was like this was like a New York like, oh my god, we can't have like cream cheese on our bagels. Like this is fucked. Like we're really fucked. DCA says, yeah, I trust what it says in Europe, they'll serve you donkey and horse meat. It's a dumpster fire in Europe? Wow, okay. No, like, you can get whatever. Everyone became a prepper? Yeah. The schmear's been smeared? Yes. Dried pasta, you couldn't buy it? Wow. Yeah. I mean, like, the Italians would riot, I'm sure, but, like, they could just make their own, but, like, yeah, we had, like, it was funny, it made the news, but, like, you would go to, like, breakfast places and you couldn't get your bagel with cream cheese, and, like, the breakfast places were losing all their money that they could, like, yeah. yeah, prof. Like, are you just gonna say let them eat cake now? Okay. Okay, for Kant, stupidity is a disease of determinative judgment and inability to go from universal to particular. I will now argue that stupidity is rather an inability to go from particular to universal and a resultant inability to develop the required concepts. So this is much more of a learning thing that, like Adam, I think, was saying in chat. So you're going from like, oh, what is this thing? We're going to call it a pencil, and then all things like this will be pencils. And if you can't do that, you haven't learned what the new thing is that you needed to learn. And they're calling that stupid. That's the author's view. By extension, the key figures will no longer be the learned with their sophisticated conceptual apparatus, but rather agents whose conceptual resources are deeply compromised. All right, just so you know, I already like completely disagree with this metaphysics. The idea that you're not going to be able to go from a particular to a universal is actually an impossibility. On the logical side, it doesn't really make sense. So like this is going to be like deeply problematic in my view, and I'm just going to put that out there right now. The idea that you can't distinguish individuals is going to be like phenomenologically dubious, to say the least. Like I just like this doesn't, I know what they said, it doesn't really make sense though. You just bit whoa. Oh man. Yeah, yeah, I mean, I know, yeah, see, Prof, yeah, you understand. Like, this is one of these things. It sounds like a good idea in theory. You're like, oh, I'm flipping the Kantian theory, but the truth is, it's just, it doesn't make any sense except in the abstract. It makes no sense whatever. So... Okay, Section 3. Stupidity as conceptual self-hampering, Hague's mobile operations at the halt. This is the popular view right now and kind of hate it so much. Oh dear, really? Yeah. We might have to talk about this then, because there'll be stuff I know that, like, I might be able to give you some examples to be like, this should not work. Like, it just shouldn't. On the theoretical level, like, the idea that you can't generalize, the idea that you can't go from instance to generalization is going to be really problematic on the logical level. Because if any, like, the fact that like you can't pick up an object, you can't distinguish an object with like someone's identifying it to you, then like that's gonna fall into dumbness again. Like that's really just gonna go back to being dumb. Like if you can't make the right phenomenological distinctions, then you're going to be a deficient person, and it's not gonna work. So like that's gonna be real problematic. Profile, yeah, we'll definitely do that. Have the full set of argument motions, except for your practical stuff. Okay. Can I elaborate on the generalizing principle? Yeah. So semiotics. So this is the thing. You're a semiotician. You understand science. Imagine not being able to point out a sign to somebody. Like you can't describe it, and no matter how many times you describe the sign to someone, they don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Like you can't be like, oh, you see this face on this quarter here? There's a U.S. quarter. I don't know if you're going to be able to zoom, but it's a normal U.S. quarter has a face of George Washington, and you can't be like, that's the face of George Washington, and they don't get it. You'd be like, what do you mean you don't get it? That's the face of George Washington. You have to be able to like, okay, George Washington is a type, a concept, and that's what he looked like. And so, but the idea that someone can't be like, that's a face and it's George Washington, that's going to be some sort of neurological problem that they can't recognize faces. That's diseased. There's a disease of like non-facial recognition. Like you can look this up. And so this is not like what we would call stupidity. This is what we call like, inability to do something else. But like we consider this a disease in the inability to recognize faces. And so it's like, this is not what we actually call stupid. Like it's what we call, this is a different sort of problem. So, oh God, do not be cube rolling in my chat. Do not be fucking cube rolling. All right. So, stupidity is a conceptual self-hampering Higgs mobile operations at the halt. Yeah, oh yeah, let me know if that made sense, semiotics. If you need me to do more. Sadly, I think you are actually... Now that I realize what you're doing, Cube Rule, like, yes, that's the exact problem. You are recognizing individuals and then generalizing to, like, the shape, or the other way around. But, like, that's the point. Like, you have to be able to do this. It's at the level of memeing. That's why it's Cube Rule. You are not going to be able to get a... See? Hey, Prof. Laura. If you can meme, then you can generalize. And that's what's happening here. Like, you have to be able to do this. So cube rule is actually a counterexample. Like you can say a fucking hot dog is a taco. The fact that everyone on the internet has to deal with hot dog being a taco is a counterexample to this kind of position. Adam Fighter says, it is like you point to a mammal and say that it is a cat, then you point to another mammal, tiger, but then they can't recognize that a cat as a tiger is more similar or a dolphin mammal. Yeah. Now, the idea is not that they can't do that. It's like that so it's like, it'd be like saying, well, it's cat's an animal, and then they'd be like, well, what is it? And then you're like, well, it's a cat, and they can't generalize that a cat is an animal. It's like, no, if you can't recognize that a cat is an animal, that's the generalization from a particular. It's not the apply the cat to multiple things. That's the other way around. That's what Kant was saying. You're saying a cat is as an animal, and they can't do that. That's seriously problematic because they don't understand that like you can generalize from cat to animal, but like that's really weird. Modus tollens, that would be an example, yeah, but it's more of a generalization, an instance to a generality. So like a cat is a kind of animal, but if you can't go from cat to as a kind of animal, like you can't even logic. This is going back to fucking De Morgan. No, Boole. Boole said heads of horses are heads of animals, and that you should be able to derive that in logic. And that's what Frege did. He reified that concept into the logic for all you nerdy history of analytic philosophy people there. So Valpo, we did hot dog sandwiches in your intro class on Thursday. This is what I mean. This is why this theory can't be right, and this is why Prof. Laura is asking me about it. Like, it's just at the level of like it should not work. This should not be the level. This can't be the definition of stupid. It's more about association, yeah. So yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, the upper level is the association, but the direction matters. And the idea that you don't understand that a cat is an animal, like you've got real problems there. And I'd go with dumbness, not stupidity. All right. Author says, it is a common saying that generals always fight the last war. I argue that this is a paradigm case of stupidity. I don't even know what that thing is. You use hot dog bread to make your sandwich. There you go. See, but you understood. Hot dog is a kind of bread, and you can make a sandwich out of it. You generalized. Perfect. Yeah, you passed that test. Exactly. So, Douglas Haig was commander of British forces on the Western Front from December 1915 through the end of World War I. He had overall responsibility during the Somme and the Passchendaele. No idea if I say that right. I'm interested in a striking observation supposedly made by Sir Ian Hamilton, leader of the Gallipoli campaign. Haig, he suggested, thought of the Western Front as mobile operations at the halt. Of course, Haig did not literally think that infantry regiments were cavalry ones. Rather, the charge is that the basic conceptual framework he used to make sense of what was happening was one taken from the cavalry warfare in which he had trained. The trenches were analyzed in the language of mobile operations, albeit with the caveat that nothing was in fact moving. Haig's command has been subject to alternating hagiography, derision, and rehabilitation, and this is not the place to offer any historical assessment. My claim is rather a conditional one. If Hamilton's observation is accurate, Haig's conduct was stupid. What? I'm sorry. DCI asked if a prof was able to smuggle a syllabus. Yeah, so you can look at it. Yeah. Ding 5, exactly. This is like so ridiculously bad. Like, I'm sorry, this person, the problem here is that it's not that they're, what they're saying is wrong, it's that they don't understand war. Like, we have a war in Ukraine right now, and we are using drone warfare in ways that we don't understand yet. To use new methods in warfare, you have to use the old methods and adapt them. That is being smart, is adapting old methods into using new techniques. Like, so we currently have a warfare with like new technologies, information, all sorts of craziness. We don't have the terms. We're hashing that out now. People are dying because of this. Haig's conduct may have been stupid, but not because he was using the old ideas. He was using the best ideas available to him at the time. He may have been wrong, but he wasn't being stupid. This is supposed to be the paradigm, the best available. Yeah, like, but this is back on your stuff. Like, the person here writing, I feel, doesn't actually understand the practicalities of doing things under lack of information or lack of theory. When you lack information, you have to use the tools available to you at the time. This person doesn't understand making decisions under duress and under lack of information, given, like, you don't know how things are working at the front line. And so the idea that, like, Haig was using old ideas, that's correct, but it does not make it stupid. It does not. Like, it's just, it was using what was available to Haig at the time. I mean, it's like, oh, you don't have a scissors and you used a knife? Was that stupid? No, that's what you had available to you. That's why you use, like, a pocket knife, even though scissors would be better. So it's like, no, it's just wrong. Okay, as noted, for Kant, stupidity is exemplified by an agent with adequate concepts who cannot properly apply them. Here, in contrast, the problem is the lack of the right conceptual tools for the job. Like, the person who wrote this, you can't blame someone for not having the right conceptual tools if they haven't been invented yet. Seriously, trench warfare was new. This was the most modern war at the time, World War I, using vastly new technologies because of the Industrial Revolution and all this shit. Yeah, every so often when I get pissed off, like, this happens. I'm like, what the fuck? So it's like, the problem is the lack of the right conceptual tools for the job. This is not Haig's fault. Haig cannot be called stupid for using the tools that were available to him. It's like, you just can't. That's like saying someone who was using, like, if all you have a hammer and you hammer stuff, it's like, well, was that person stupid? It's like, no, they only had a hammer. What do you do when you only have a hammer? Well, you use the hammer. So tragically, this inadequacy hampered Haig in achieving the goal to which he was intensely committed, that of a successful command. Drawing on this, I formulate a definition. Quote, an individual or group A is stupid with respect to goal G and concept C if and only if A's use of C in pursuit of G is self-hampering, and 2, see, here, was it self-hampering? Was this his fault for not having the right concepts? Maybe not. How is it self-hampering? All right, but and 2, where the reason for the use of C is that A's conceptual inventory either does not include a non-self-hampering concept capable of playing the same explanatory role, or where such a concept is present in that inventory, but A has only limited cognitive access to it. Yeah, see, this is the problem. If A has only limited cognitive access to it, isn't this the dumbness again? It's not the person's fault. Aren't we going back to them being dumb, not stupid? DCI says one day my future wife is going to be wondering if he's mad at her, but he's really just going to have read a stupid paper. This is the Doomheit, yeah, the final problem. DCI, when I took one political science class, philosophy of political science. At the end of one of the classes, we were doing Hume. I had such the I don't like the what's it called, the what the fuck face, that the teacher says, okay, Noger, you have such we don't have time right now, but you have to tell us what you're worried about, because you have such a scornful face on that next class you have to come in and tell us what your problem was. So I formulated my question better than I had it at the time. Come back next class, and the teacher starts teaching. He's about 2 minutes into stuff. He goes, oh wait, Noger has a question for us. So this was an hour and a half long class, I think. It took 40 minutes for him to answer my question, and I was criticizing Hume. I said, Hume, look, you say you have to be rational and you have to look at the history, but history isn't rational, and what you learn from history, and the rationality is not always you have to deviate from history sometimes. So what do? Do you look at history and what people have done, or do you sort of make a rational thing? And this guy was a Humean, so he did not like me criticizing Hume in a very severe way. And it took him at least about 35 minutes before he finished up trying to answer that one. Yeah. Prof says, the point of Kant's twofold judgment presentation is that they fold into each other. You can't have one power without the other. That's a standing reading of, the Critique of Pure Reason 1. Interesting. See, I don't know enough Kant because I fuck Kant. But I did not say I fuck Kant. I said go fuck Kant. That's interesting. So Kant wouldn't separate them out. Yeah. But that's what that face got me once. I worked real hard on that question. And I still remember it now. And that was a really good professor too. I should have taken more classes with him, but if it wasn't science or logic and stuff like that, I stopped taking those classes. I was like, oh well. But I learned better. One of the things I did when I was in college was I would take classes in stuff I liked and classes in stuff I didn't understand because I wanted to just go find out about it. So I would take classes though on recommendations from professors I liked. So I had my advisor. He said one of the other guys was interesting. Boy, was he interesting. He had a crazy life. That guy said this other guy was interesting, or he liked him. So I took class with this guy, the political science dude, and he was really good. I really enjoyed his class. It was only 5 of us in that class. It was an upper level philosophy class, and there was only 5 of us. So we were just sitting around talking about Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Hume, and Godwin, I think it was. William Godwin, the anarchist. So yeah. Prof says, determinative and reflective judgments, you have to be able to go specific to general, and likewise general to specific. That's what make the world make sense at all. Yeah, I mean, this is, if you do it in the logic side, I come from the logic side, you do it you have generalization and instantiation. You have to go from the concept to the individual, and you have to generalize from individual to the thing that has the property. This is the history of logic, and Frege was a Kantian. He criticized Kant and generated a bunch of philosophy off that. And that's where he was the one that made the universal and specific and individual quantifiers. And so this is are anarchy and nihilism close? No, anarchy is just political. It does not say how you should feel about there not being any meaning of the world. Anarchy is basically saying governments are just bad, and so there's plenty of meaning, but government is going to fail, and so you don't want to have any overarching political structure because that's just bad. Anarchy is the lack of political structure, not saying things don't have meaning. So yeah. But yeah, that's the Kantian history of logic. So the Kant influenced a lot of the contemporary logicians. And you can actually look at a lot of contemporary logic as saying, well, what can we talk about, the phenomena, and what we can't talk about, the noumena. like the world, the thing itself, and like the phenomena. And so you can talk about the logic of the things we can talk about, but then the objects themselves, those get abstracted away. I know I'm going to lose everybody on this stuff, but like there's a logical analog to the Kantian thinking. So it's like, this is why, like, there's not, some things are not so far apart. Okay. Stupidity so defined is not a first order phenomenon. It is not a matter of having certain beliefs or performing certain actions. Instead, it is a matter of certain set of effects. The behavior is self-hampering as in 1, and a certain etiology, and impoverished or limited conceptual stock as in 2. The task for this section is to unpack the conjuncts on the right-hand side of this definition. I discussed the relationship between individuals and groups mentioned on the left side in section 4. What's mana mana? Valpo. I don't know what that is. Hannah Montana? First, to introduce the side effects of conjunct 1. Self-hampering is an instrumental notion defined relative to an agent's aims. An agent is self-hampering when they undermine their own ability to pursue their goals. So if I get drunk and I want to go hit on a girl, but I'm too drunk to do it, that would be a self-hampering thing. Okay. Acrasia is a form of self-hampering, so defined. What? Wait, what? Acrasia is weakness of will. You don't self-hamper, you have a weak will. Maybe you failed to be properly trained, but I never knew of acrasia as something you do to yourself. You are weak, but that's how you are. You are acrasic, but like, I just, what? Yeah. Oh, Hannah Montana, yeah, okay. There we go. Now, yeah. And this was what we were talking about. Yeah. So is stupidity. But here it is not weakness of the will that is doing the work, but a certain weakness of the mind. But yet, like this, the way this person is formulating this is bad. It can take several forms. It can, as in the Haig case, be an explanatory or interpretive failure. Haig had plenty of accurate ways in which he could think of his men. They were British soldiers, etc. Oh my God. Yes, he knows they're British soldiers. This is why I don't like this author. They don't understand war. Of course Haig knows they're British soldiers. That's like the dumbest thing like you could possibly say, that the general does not know that his men are his soldiers. Like, you are failing to fucking apply the general to the specific here, or the specific to the general. That's what the author just did right there. Like, literally. Yes, thank you, DCI, for clarifying. The problem is that he had no adequate conceptual framework capable of taking on the explanatory role needed, namely making sense of the ongoing operation. So on the version of history assumed, he reverted to the framework he had always known, cavalry warfare. Yeah, of course. What else would you do? When you don't know what else to do, you use what you do know. Such self-hampering can also take other forms. Sometimes it leads to outright false beliefs. For example, the elders who have no way of understanding illness in the village except by talk of witches use a concept so maladaptive that it has an empty extension. Again, I don't like this person. The reason people used these folk concepts was because they were useful. You wanted to scare people away from dangerous areas. That's why you say there was like witches or like demons over there. Like, maybe they didn't understand it, but that didn't mean it hadn't, like, doesn't mean the extinction is empty. It just means it wasn't what they thought it was. Like, there are no witches, but there may have been something that you had to avoid to, like, avoid the wrath of the witches. This person is not appreciating how things actually get done in the real world. I don't like this author. Frank says on page 20, the paper admits that the previous 19 pages were a vivid example of what they meant by stupidity. Yeah, this is one of those times when, like, you're just, like, angry at the person. Yeah. No, it's like, don't, DCI and, like, Frank and stuff. It's like, you have to be really good to pull tricks like that. Really fucking good. And just, like, I'd warn everyone not to do it. You have to be, like, a top level writer, besides philosopher to pull some M. Night Shyamalan bullshit. And no one, basically, is up to that level, as far as I can tell, nowadays. Like, no M. Night Shyamalan shit. It's just not worth it. Okay, as a result, their attempt to reduce such sickness will be self-hampering stupid. That's exactly the problem. Traditional remedies sometimes work. And like, so the fact that this author is calling them stupid means they don't appreciate traditional remedies that do work. Sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're stupid, but like, it seems very unfair to people. There are famous examples though. Okay, maybe I'm wrong and there are famous examples, but we shall see. Note, however, that if their aim is rather to deflect questions from their own leadership or to enforce misogynistic norms, using this same concept becomes far from stupid. Okay, yeah, if you're using it as a dodge. Oh, the Sokol affair. Yeah, of course. But like, again, that happened once. That happened one time. No one else can do it. Sokol can do it. He did it once. Everyone got annoyed with him, and that's fair. But other than that, don't do it. Yeah. Valpa says, I did a dramatic reveal in a conference presentation once, but I don't think it would work in print. See, again, performance. If you do it in paper, it's real hard. Like, it's real hard. Yeah, exactly, Prof. You can do it once. You just can't do it again. Like, this is what I'm saying. Don't do it. It's not going to land. And Valpa says, you can do a dramatic reveal in theater. That's why you can do it in an M. Night Shyamalan movie, not in papers. It's like, it's not worth it. It's too hard. Like, what's it called? Fight Club. I mean, spoiler. The narrator. Who's the narrator at the end of Fight Club? But like, again, that was a book. But again, you have to be a fucking top level writer to pull off that shit, and it has to be in a novel. Don't try this shit in philosophy. It's not going to work unless you're as good as Valpo. I mean, are you? Really? Probably not. So that's the thing. Okay. Similarly, if your aim is to make headway with the vast complexities of the U.S. welfare system, an inability to think beyond welfare queens is stupid. What? I don't even understand what the fuck they're saying here. I don't understand. But if your aim is to get elected, those same limitations rapidly become anything but. Yeah, again, this author's assuming they... Alright, yeah. So they're just saying if you're jumping onto the welfare queen, you don't want to hear anything else. It's like, yeah, you're being stupid. But yeah, if you want to get elected, then you're making use of these useful fools that don't think anything past welfare queen. Fair, okay. Stupidity, as I have presented it, is thus both an instrumental notion and a relatively specific one. Rather than being just a loose slur, it maps a particular form of shortcoming. What about a non-instrumental notion, a stupidity of ends, not means? It may be possible to develop such a story, but establishing any end-focused practical normativity has historically been a colossal challenge, one closely interwoven with the debates between Humean and Kantian theories of motivation and reason. So for that reason, I propose we begin, as I have done, and see if we can develop a theory that meets the desiderata sketched above. Puffler, I thought of it as like same action, stupid in one case, not stupid in another. You know, sometimes you have to read the crowd. So it's like, again, that would be reflective in that case. I'm not even sure what's going on here, unfortunately, because I'm just so annoyed with the author at the moment because I don't think they understand the practicalities of real life. And so it's like, yeah, witches, is it political? No. Do they actually believe in witches? Maybe. It doesn't really matter. It's like if you're trying to help the people and so you come up with some sort of thing that fits into your worldview, what else are we supposed to do? We have a worldview that we exist in now. We make up shit. The idea that the shit we make up now is going to last 300 years into the future, maybe, but everything else we had from 300 years ago, not everything has lasted. But like, were those people being stupid? No, but like they had the phlogiston molecule. They thought phlogiston, and then there was the oxygen molecule. People thought phlogiston was real, turned out not to be, but like, you know, so what? That's what happens. You make up concepts and you find out later they're not right. People made up witches back in the day. It turned out not to be right, but was it a useful term at the time? Maybe. Does that make those people stupid or like politically manipulative? Not necessarily. Okay. Conject 1 defines stupidity relative to goals rather than to individuals. This explains some of our mixed intuitions when moving to person-level attributions. A politician who exploits talk of welfare queens with clear-eyed cynicism because he cares only about electoral success is not stupid, although obviously dangerous in other ways. Yeah, that's right. A politician who uses the concept both to fire up a right-wing base and to seek genuine improvements to the welfare system will be stupid relative to one goal and not the other. If asked for a person-level verdict on him, we can only feel torn. Contrast this with cases where the goals do not clash and we can comfortably talk of someone being stupid financially whilst brilliant intellectually. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. You can do things in one way versus not another. DCI, I mean, this is like part and parcel of philosophy. People think they're solving all sorts of shit. I mean, there's a lot of ego in philosophy. Because, the sad part is there's nothing else. You don't get like hard results. Like, you're not like Lumpy. It's not like you made the molecule and then like you go send it off and like people like are curing diseases with the molecule you make. That's all you got in philosophy. So people have massive egos and they, feel free to like burden the rest of us with it. Okay. Finally, a more complex case. A politician deliberately uses welfare queen trope because he knows it will support his only goal, electoral success. Incidental to this, he does in fact believe that the concept would be suitable for use in genuine welfare reform, in which he has reflectively concluded he has zero interest. Compare this to someone who has zero interest in animals and no contact with them, but if pushed on how to best train a reindeer, would appeal to some idiosyncratic and incoherent mishmash of concepts. Those beliefs are ignorant, perhaps silly, but stupid seems harsh given their harmless nature and utter lack of connection to the agent's goals. The politician, in contrast, pull us in conflicting directions. On the one hand, his conceptual tool perfectly matches his goals. He is highly successful. Whilst is definitely a great semiotic. Yeah, it's a good pointing term. So philosophy is an art? Yeah, sometimes. Writing is an art, and philosophy involves writing. So yeah. I mean, it's a lot of things. It's right. You have to know a lot of shit to do philosophy. You have to know what people think, how people are, and how to communicate. So it goes into it. Yeah, so if the politician wants to get elected, he is highly successful. On the other hand, he has the wrong tool for pursuing another end which we regard as significant, but which he has rejected. Silly no longer seems strong enough, and morally wrong fails to capture the distinctive error, namely that even if he were to accept the right goal, he would lack the right means to pursue it. We might call him stupid, but what I want to flag is that the term does not fit quite naturally, is because the self-hampering requirement has not been met. Maybe it does. Maybe they're going to go into it a little bit more. They're saying they got so wrapped up in like their, belief of using welfare queen that they thought it was actually useful, and then like they were using a bad concept. Well, I mean, what the person here is, they're malicious. They're using the wrong term willfully just to do something that they don't care about. They're like maliciously being dumb. So, okay. Blanket personal level attributions of stupidity will typically reflect an assumption that certain goals are so basic that agents cannot lack them. This would establish a shared set of ends and thus potentially a common toolbox, the absence of which would make an agent stupid irrespective of their stated aims. I don't like this either. Now they're trying to say that like people have a baseline. I don't know about that. Yeah, this is... In any time this happens in philosophy where someone starts shifting from like what they're talking about, like what a politician is using instrumentally to get like the job done, whether to push reform or get themselves elected, and then they shift very quickly into another area, there's a big old red flag. It means they didn't know what they were talking about usually, because I mean, it can be done well, but usually this means that they're jumping. They're making a bit of a philosophical jump, and they don't actually have a good argument here. Frank says, I think of ignorant, dumb, and stupid as adjectives spanning a certain kind of actions. I think this guy thinks of ignorant, dumb, and stupid as adjectives spanning personal defects. I'm not sure there's nice mapping between the two. Yeah, and I think the author is kind of aware of it. I'm not sure how they think of how they're going to try to pull it off. I think you're right. Like, I think there's a little bit of a disconnect. So, yeah. So, anytime, if you're reading philosophy or if you're writing some and you have to make a jump like this, just slow it down and make sure you can make a good segue. Because when this happens, a lot of times, and not necessarily, but a lot of times it reflects a lack of understanding of one of the concepts that you're using, and you have to you're just bringing it on at that point, and because you need to get to your next point, but without some sort of background assumption, you're just bringing it in, and that's why there's a jump. You're not arguing for it. You're just assuming something. So why would you switch? Okay. The author's account is neutral on whether such mandatory goals exist. Yeah, why are they claiming about universals about people? Who the fuck knows? That's completely non sequitur at this point. What is important is to see that this is an instance of conjunction 1 produced by combining the self-hampering model with the assumption of ends sufficiently basic or sufficiently important that they cannot be ignored. Yeah, so what they had to do is say that basically it's a necessity to do like one of these things, and then they're using a concept that they're using wrong to do it, and so you're conjoining a concept and a necessity. And see, why would they bring, the author just brought this necessity in out of the blue, and it's like they just want to make their argument that whatever their argument is here, basically that they're, what is it, the self-hampering. So they had to bring in the self-hampering. They had to define by fiat that there was something internal to them that they were fucking up. And they had no way of arguing it, so they just hand-waved it in and then said they fucked it up. And so this is completely just sort of dogmatic on their part. Night, Frank. Have a great night. Okay, and DCI is, yeah, we're killing people now. You have a grape for you? Will do, DCI. It's like, yeah, this paper is knocking people out. But I appreciate the lurk. Thank you very much. And I know, it's like Europeans are going to drop off. Okay, yeah, so that's what they had to do. To make their definition, they had to arbitrarily grant that they must be fucking something up of themselves here. Oh, okay. Okay, hey, Frank's still with us. Well, Frank's in Australia. God, what time it is for you? Yeah, not even, yeah, it's morning for you, that's right. Yeah, well, streamer brains. No, I know Europeans are like... I do feel slightly bad that I don't stream at Europe-friendly times. Although this is Australia morning, so I don't feel bad about Australians. I used to get someone in, like, Southeast Asia, too. I wonder how Frog is doing. I hope Frog's okay. I think Frog was out in, like, yeah, Southeast Asia. Yeah, let me write this down. It's DCI grapes. I'm huge in Australia. To be fair, the guy I just shouted out, excessive profanity, he's an Australian streamer. So, like, I only catch him when, like, you know, the weekend or stuff. So, yeah. I'm huge in Australasia. Oh, okay. Thank you. I got it now. So, it's like I do actually deal with some of the Australian Twitch contingency there. Yeah, speaking of, I got published, hooray, in the Australasian Journal of Philosophy. So if you want to see my paper, there it is. Just throw it in chat for shits and giggles. Okay, so now we're going to the second component, the etiology conject 2. Stupidity is self-hampering with a special cause, namely inadequate or maladaptive conceptual resources. Perhaps the best way to present this is by comparison with other forms of epistemic failing. Stupidity is different from error. Error is both too broad and too narrow. It is too broad because we make errors, even systematic errors, for many reasons. Impatience might cause me to hastily skim your email and misread the meeting venue without my being stupid. AJP is a good journal. No. Australasian Journal of Logic, not Australasian Journal of Philosophy. I'm not that good, Valpo. This was in the Australasian Journal of Logic, not Australasian Journal of Philosophy. Australasian Journal of Logic is a small open access logic journal run by many of the same people out in Australia and New Zealand. But yeah, no. No, not AJP. I wish. No, it's Australasian Journal of Logic, not Australasian Journal of Philosophy. I ain't that clever. This is a small paper, not a big paper. Although I have sent them stuff before in the past, and they've been very nice about their reviews. So I would suggest actually sending stuff to Australasian Journal of Philosophy, although I have not gotten any, not a bite from them. It's good, but not at the same level. Valpo. Like, Australasian Journal of Philosophy is the sort of thing you can, make a name for yourself in. This is not that. But I mean, in logic terms, in the philosophy of logic, it's a good journal. It's not a generalist journal, though. You have to be careful. This is why, see, no one else knows why this matters, but you have to be careful. You have to show, not philosophy, Journal of Logic. It makes a difference. Yeah. Okay, I needed that water. I am drying out. But yeah, we are getting past halfway in this paper. So there we go. Now the question is being impatient stupid? Like, they're just saying that impatience is not stupid. You misread someone's email and you didn't do it. Was the impatience stupid? I'm kind of like thinking that being impatient can be a form of stupidity. And they're just saying that it is not a form of stupidity right here. So it lacks the distinctive conceptual inadequacy found in stupidity. But like, I'm thinking that being impatient may be stupid at times. And so I'm not like I'm losing mental capacity as time goes on, but like this just sounds wrong. And so like there's definitely an argument here. And there's a footnote here too, so maybe it's worth like Prof. Laura might check this out. But there's a footnote on this, and so they're saying not necessarily over here. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking like maybe they have a fine distinction, but it just seems like they've got their examples wrong here. Okay, so we're talking about error here again. It is too narrow because the error is too narrow because there may be cases of stupid behavior in which the conceptual impoverishment yields true but trivial beliefs rather than false ones. For example, if a general possessed no more refined concept than battle and continually and simply thought to himself that the battle was indeed a battle. Such cases are, however, relatively rare because they would be easily visible in any conversation, likely barring such extravagantly simple-minded individuals from positions of command. In contrast, Hague's putative form of stupidity would become visible only after extensive debate. You see how weird this is? They didn't realize he was stupid until after extensive debate. If it's stupid, it usually doesn't require extensive debate. You point out stupid and be like, look, dude, it's stupid. And they go, oh shit, it is stupid. And it's not like, oh, no, we have to like show you all this stuff. It's like, that's not being stupid. That might be wrong, but you're not being stupid if it takes a lot of effort to show the stuff. And so this is why, conspicuity. Okay, yeah. But like, see, this is a problem here. Like, I'm just reading off the description of what they're calling stupid, and it isn't sounding right. And so they're moving far. Now, it's okay to define things in philosophy or in all your own writing the way you want to do it. But you have to be clear. This is my version of stupid, not the general version. They said that earlier, but the problem is they're moving farther and farther away from the general version, like the common version of stupid. And in that case, what's the value of this philosophy if they're not giving a version of stupid that everyone kind of agrees with? If they're using a very technical version of stupid, that's just stupid. Okay, finally, many false beliefs are not self-hampering. Error fails to capture that aspect of the phenomenon as touched upon in the case of silly thoughts. Okay, yeah, that's fair too. Like, you can have silly thoughts, they may not be stupid thoughts. Much of the same applies to understanding, where this is some broader cognitive achievement than knowledge. I can misunderstand something for all kinds of reasons without thereby acting stupidly. I mean, you can be right for the wrong reasons. Like, you can act on the wrong stuff and then get and do the right thing. And we might call that like the reason stupid, but like, the outcome was okay. And so this does get a little hairy on these sorts of examples. Like, this is like moral luck. Like, you weren't like doing the right thing, but you weren't doing the right thing, but you got lucky morally. It's like, were you being stupid? Maybe, but like it worked out. So these are weird though. Okay, stupidity is also different from foolishness, understood as prudential misjudgments from misplaced priorities to incompetent risk assessments. Behavior of Paulos, the mathematician, bankrupted, chasing stock losses, was foolish, but not necessarily stupid. It depends why the error occurred, exactly. Suppose the problem was that Paulos was incredibly stubborn. That would not be a case of stupidity, as it would lack the right cause. Yeah, do the right thing, Spike Lee. Yeah. So stupidity is a distinct form of error, misunderstanding, and foolishness. Distinct from error, misunderstanding, and foolishness, it is best understood as a potential cause for these problems when they arise. Of course, different shortcomings often interact. Someone might refuse to acquire new concepts because of pig-headedness. But it is vital to distinguish the different aspects of the situation. Stupidity tracks a particular form of shortcoming needing particular remedies. Yeah, I was going to say that too, Frank. Stubbornness could be stupid too. Like, again, this person I feel like is not very good in the practical. They don't realize why stupid actually does occur, and stubbornness exactly could be one of those things. And it's like, so even if they had a point about error not being inherently stupid, all their examples were bad here, and that completely undermines their argumentation. It's like, because they already had the wrong theory of stupid, in my opinion, and so all their examples are just off. It seems really weird to me that, like, people would say this. But this is not the first time this has happened to me, where my what they call intuitions in philosophy, but like just the way I understand the world in general is not like everyone else's, and so there might be a contingent of people that use the words differently than I do, and so this is closer to how they use them. Frank says, I think it's easy to see that a stupid action could be from stubbornness, but not that a person is stupid because they're a stubborn person. Yes. Like they were being overly stubborn in that case. Exactly. Frank says, so I think this is the same thing, that they're thinking of these as personal traits. Yeah, so maybe that's part of their problem, is that they're overly attributing stupid as a personal trait, and so it's basically generalizing it for that person. And so they can't actually apply it correctly because they can't apply it to being stubborn in that case. They're applying it to the person all the time. That's fair. Yeah. And Prof agrees that Frank is on top of it. Okay, to see this, suppose that Haig was, in fact, willfully lazy. Yeah, so Haig wasn't lazy as far as we know, though. Whilst he fully possessed the concepts necessary to make the Flanders front, he preferred to think about things along old lines because it left him more free time. See, this is weird, though, because we don't think he was lazy. I think they even said above that, like he was really trying to work hard at what he was doing. The diagnosis would not be stupidity, but negligence. Yeah, that would be negligence. And the solution would be a commander who was less idle. But if the real problem was that Haig worked himself to the bone whilst operating within the intellectual prison of 19th century military tradition, a tradition to which he had a deep psychological attachment, then solving the difficulty becomes harder. One will need to introduce a new conceptual framework to establish a sense of identity and military pride for it, such that the commanders were willing to employ it. This is such a long sentence. I'm just trying to see. Okay. If the problem was a stupidity hammered into every British officer at training, then bringing in an energetic new general is unlikely to help, as the British found to their cost throughout the war. Whereas laziness can be fixed by switching individuals, stupidity is often more insidious. No. Stupidity is insidious, but if you're saying it was on the fault of the training, then the training was bad, and the people aren't stupid, they were poorly trained. Like this is just so weird that they said if the stupidity was hammered into every British officers at the training, then they weren't being stupid, they were following their training. This is like fucking... Yeah, Shane. Oh my God, Shane. Like, we're reading something on the concept of stupidity. The problem is this person who's writing it is like incompetent, in my opinion. Maybe not as a philosopher, but in like many other ways. They don't understand history. They don't understand practicalities. And it's just killing me the whole paper through. Anyway, anyone here does not know Shane, you have to go follow Shane this minute. Shane is a historian and sociologist. Shane McInnes. And so go click on the little heart at top if it is not already clicked. Shane streams history and takes requests and all sorts of stuff. Great guy. Does Gundams on the weekend. And did you pick the Gundam you were going to do next? Because there was a choice apparently. But yeah. So yeah, go follow Shane. And like, when we philosophers have questions about the world, Shane is the person we go ask. So it's like, that's the thing. It's like, we go bother Shane. Like, Shane, we need help. Tell us how the world is. See, that's the problem. This person does not have a Shane McInnes in their life. All right? That's the problem with this author. They don't have a Shane McInnes in their life that they can properly go ask. They're sitting in too much theory. They don't understand the world. And it's like, you can't do that. In philosophy, you have to take the facts of reality seriously. You do. Shane says, yeah, I was supposed to stream that today, but I ended up having to do some construction stuff. Probably going to pick it up tomorrow afternoon a bit. Sounds good. Yeah. So... yeah, like it's not enough to be good at theory to be a good philosopher. You have to actually be good at other stuff too. Otherwise, your theory, like Kant, is going to be off in the abstract world, and it will just eventually get too disconnected from reality. And that's where I fear this author has got themselves. This is actually, Shane, it's funny, you're here today. Maybe you only decide to pipe up when, like, people are being really stupid. Remember that, like, completely terrible paper we were trashing a million years ago? And the author found my review on YouTube and was like, oh my God, this guy trashes me for 2 hours. This is almost at that level of, like, holy fuck. On the upside, this person is not using as many long-winded examples. This person at least is, not as long-winded. It's a longer paper, but they're not long-winded. So, yeah. But like, you were here for that. We were all like, this is the worst thing we've read in forever. This is actually getting, this is not at that level of terrible, but like, it's just annoying. Okay, so we've got another 8 pages or so to get through. Double space pages, thankfully. So we're getting 2/3 done. As the disjunctive nature of 2 suggests, my ideology for stupidity envisages a range of cases, including that of limited cognitive access. It also allows for someone to act as if they were stupid without actually being so. To see the full range of scenarios, consider something like Pickard's recent responsibility without blame model of drug addiction, or RWOB. Okay, so that's the model. Shane says, I actually haven't been in the right mindset to be around too much lately. That's fine. Been very busy and very tired. No, of course. Like, you're always welcome. If you have other things you need to be doing and taking care of yourself, please take care of yourself. But like, yeah, always pleasure to have you in chat. Yeah, like, I took vacation for a few weeks. I was like, fuck this, I'm done. I was out. And I still haven't gotten back to all the things I need to get back to, but whatever. Getting there. Yeah. Like Shane, I was telling people, I was actually thinking of getting myself an academic association. People are like, oh, you're going to get a degree and try to get a job. I was like, fuck no. I just don't care anymore. I just want someone to give me like a little bit of something. I don't care. Like, you think there's an academic job at the end of this? Like, I don't give a shit. If I get one, that's nice, but that's not my plan. It's just, I don't care anymore. I just want, make things easier on myself. Okay. So as Picard explains, RWOB, the responsibility without blame, is a public policy intervention which charts a course between the moral and disease model of addiction by reconceptualizing responsibility to avoid links to blame and attendant effective attitudes. What? Alright, let us stipulate that this is indeed the right way to reduce the social damage of addiction. Okay, so you're just saying no blame, this is just how society is, and so we're not blaming the addicts. Okay, we have 5 politicians. Abe fully grasps and believes in RWOB, but his primary aim is re-election, and he knows it serves his chances if he publicly blames addicts. Bob's primary aim is also re-election, and that has led to unconscious biases in his evidence assessment. While he fully understands and often thinks through RWOB, he erroneously believes that a blaming approach is more effective. Chloe sincerely wishes to reduce drug addiction social harms. She also fully understands RWOB. She could fluidly expound it and its components, yet due to religious convictions, she in fact never thinks in those terms, instead framing addiction in highly shaming terms. Doug also sincerely wishes to limit addiction's effects. While he possesses the basic concepts of RWOB, though they are not cognitively well accessible, he has a limited grasp on them, could not fluidly present them even if he wished to, and it requires conscious mental effort for him to even begin to re-envisage things along these lines. Okay, I just said this person didn't make long-winded examples. I take that back. Finally, Emma, again sincerely committed to reducing addiction's consequences, lacks the relevant concepts. She will possess notions like responsibility, but she lacks the specific idea of responsibility, no longer interdefined with effective attitudes such as blame. Similarly, one having the general idea of leader does not entail the possession of more nuanced concept, prime minister. God damn it. Yeah. I was like, this is what happens. Like, people, like, they like to talk and then they like to give you big examples. And basically, this is the shock and awe philosophy. They give you, like, these complicated examples with names and shit and formulas, and they're trying to convince you of some shit that they didn't fucking get the theory right in the first place. And so they're trying to give you an example to make you think that they did. It doesn't work. Just annoying. In author's term, Abe is not stupid. He is poisonously cynical. No, he's just cynical, not poisonously so. I get very annoyed with people being angry with cynics. I'm cynical. I'm not poisonously cynical. You just don't like it, author. Okay. Bob is also not stupid. He is subject to a bias which compromises him epistemically, but this is not a result of an inadequate conceptual inventory, nor is his behavior self-hampering. I actually bet people would disagree with this, but like, it's fair enough. But like, you're saying, well, why is he getting biased? Can't he reflect and realize he's being biased? But like, that's not super important for this author. Roll back up to Bob. Bob basically understands re-election, that he has to criticize, and says, look, the best policy would not be to blame people, but he kind of gets taken in by the blaming people. He sort of he has an unconscious bias. And so he starts to blame people. he knows the best policy is not to blame people, but he's starting to get biased against them, and so he does sometimes. Roll back up Bob because I think he is stupid. Yeah, and so this is the thing. The author doesn't want to say that Bob is stupid here, I think. See, it's not behavioral self-hampering, and so we think it's stupid because he should be able to reflect and then not be biased. So I agree with you, Shane. But like, this is the thing. Like, this author doesn't understand the practicalities of being biased. You think, though, his lack of willingness to self-examine is stupid? Yes, that's what I completely agree. That's where I was going with it, yeah. If he doesn't get it at all, it's wild. Yeah, see, again, yeah, you set us up, Prof. You can be happy, but you also set us up. Chloe is not stupid either, but her religious beliefs lead her to act as if she were, that is, act as if her conceptual stock were more limited than in fact it is. Yet again, Chloe also should realize the disconnect between what she understands and then her religious beliefs, and so she should understand that just going with the religious stuff that goes against what she knows by, definition, see, I'm losing words now. Knows by in the story, again, this is a non-self-reflective thing, and so this is a problem there. Okay, Doug is to some degree stupid. No, Doug is to some degree dumb in the dumbness here. He has no choice. Okay, he is, but this is the problem. Chloe's stupid too, lack of awareness again. Exactly, Shane. Prof. Okay, yeah, so you're talking to Shane. Frank says, isn't the whole point of the paper to contrast stupid to ignorant and dumb in a way that spans all the uses of stupid? Because Bob, if not stupid, because of self-hampering, is missing from the set of categories now. See, like, this is the problem. The author is trying to make an example and they're just failing at it. Yeah, I completely agree. It's just bad. This is just, like, disappointing in some sense. Like, I'm starting to think this author is, in some sense, not stupid, but dumb. They are not putting together what they were saying in a way that seems like they just don't get how to apply their own concepts. Yeah, well, Frank is getting better at this, yeah. Well, I don't know if he's getting better. He's always been good. Make Frank great again. He is an example of the second disjunct, this Doug, the one that just can't fucking put anything together. He possesses all the concepts in a thin sense, but his fluency with them is limited. One natural, although non-mandatory way to develop this would be to think of the possession as a skill. Doug's conceptual inventory is compromised in the same way as my novice piano playing. No, just fucking no. You could get better by practicing. The conceptual stuff the author wants will not get better by, like, going over the concepts. So this is not the same at all, author. Yeah, practicing. Well, this is what I said at the beginning. Expertise. You practice, you get better, then you know stuff. And that failed earlier in the paper. Brought that up earlier. Shane says, I haven't been here for the whole paper, but I can tell that the core issue with the author is a lack of epistemological rigor directed at his own ideas. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This author is an impractical person. They are bad on the practical side. They have not actually applied this stuff to themselves or life. And this is the issue here. Like, I don't like this person, actually. Like, they're actually, I think, a fine philosopher. Like, it sounds like the way they've put the paper together is really not bad. The problem is they suck at being a person. And, like, that's what I think, I completely agree with you. They did not put rigor into their own ideas directed at themselves. They have not put the effort into their self-improvement, understanding the world and themselves and their philosophy. Problem is they're really skilled at the philosophy stuff. So they're just the writing of it. Oh, legit. Thank you for follow. Shane says they don't really understand what they are arguing and they don't really understand how to explain it. Yeah. So, like, their quality... This is actually going to be one of the worst reviewed papers, like, in terms of the end. It's going to be shiny. It's going to be the poop because it looks shiny at first, but then when you get down to its crap, and they've also failed to make their own arguments. So it's going to be both the golden turd and the grapes, and it's going to be bad. Prof. Laura will be back 2 seconds. The structure is actually pretty great. Yeah, they know how to philosophize, though. I have no problem with their argumentative structure. Yeah, it's like they know how to philosophize. Frank says, didn't say Bob wanted to help addicts. They all want to help addicts. That's the thing about the example. But, like, they're just, why do they... The example here is they want to help addicts, and but they have this theory that they kind of know is the right theory, but they're all avoiding using that theory for different reasons. Because if we presume Bob would prefer to help Axe and he is self-hampering, well, he wants to get elected, is the thing. Legit says, late to the reading, could you provide a flash briefing so far? Yeah. So we're going into what is the concept of stupidity? How do we know what things are stupid? Because, you know, the idea is like, if we could point out what is stupid, maybe we could correct this in ourselves, others, and be less of a stupid society with less stupid shit going on. The problem here is that the author is very skilled in terms of like the philosophical ability to write papers, but they just are really fucking up the concepts. And so we're Prof. Laura in chat, who's going to be back in a few seconds, he's actually working on this area. And so he wanted to get my and chat's take on this paper that, you know, is somewhat, I don't know if it's important, but it's a paper in this area. And so he wanted to see what we had to say. So that's kind of what's going on between the paper and chat. The idea also of the stupidity here is that, I don't know what country you're from, but this is a U.S. quarter. It's worth 25 cents. It's got the picture of George Washington profile on it. The idea of stupid in the author's terms here is that you can't actually generalize from an individual saying, oh, this picture of George Washington, and that is a picture of a human head. Like, you can't generalize. You're not able to apply an individual to a universal concept, generalize from an individual to a universal concept. And this is based off Kantian philosophy, and it just seems way too disconnected with reality. You find yourself in this situation as well. You're eager to practice your understanding as well. Good. You want to, because the issue is that when you don't actually, you know, invoke like your own reasoning and see how it works out, what happens is it gets too disconnected. And if it's too disconnected from reality, you end up just talking maybe really good philosophy because like it sounds good, like it's scholastic. This is scholasticism. You have really good skills, but you actually haven't talked about anything, and that's what's happening in this paper. But like they're just saying you either can't generalize from an instance, or you can't see a specific instance from a generality. And the problem here is a lot of times you can learn via practice to get better at stuff, and then you understand more things. And this is what we were just complaining about. The idea that you can start to like apply concepts is something you practice, you get better, you get to be an expertise in it, then you get good. This author does not understand that you via practice you understand better. They haven't done that, and that's the problem. Yeah, it's just not tight. So he is self-hampering, is he? No, because he's trying to get himself... Frank, back to what you were saying. In some sense, I don't think he's self-hampering because he's trying to get himself elected, so he's saying something wrong, but to get himself elected. So he wants to help the addicts, and he knows how to do it. He's just saying something contrary to this to get himself elected. It may still help the addicts in the end, but yeah. But I guess it would be self-hampering, or is it politically hampering? Is it self-hampering? I'm not sure. But you might be right here, Frank. I'm not 100% on this. Okay. So, yeah, so this is piano playing. All right, so the author says, Emma is the limit case. The first disjunct, she is like Haig. She simply lacks the right conceptual tools for the job. Note also the relationship between stupidity, error, and misunderstanding here. Which one is Emma? Emma is... So yeah, Doug just can't do it because he doesn't have the cognitively well accessible. You have to practice, then you could get better, but the author doesn't understand it. And Emma is just like can't even do anything. She's just not got the she's just sort of like understands the idea of responsibility, but doesn't understand like how that plays out. So I was like, she just can't do anything. Shane says self-hampering would be limiting his agency. If we look at him lacking self-awareness and thereby limiting his ability to choose, it might qualify as self-hampering. Yeah, that's right. That sounds better because he knows what he's doing. He's conscious of it, so it isn't limiting him. It may be hampering him politically, but it's not limiting him in terms of what he has the options to do. So he has options to do otherwise, and he knows it. He is choosing to do the politically efficient thing in getting himself reelected. Okay, and Emma is the limit case. The first, she is like Haig. She just does not understand what's going on. She doesn't understand. Emma just doesn't understand. Note also the relationship between stupidity, error, and misunderstanding here. All five will make false statements, but Abe also has false beliefs. Yeah. No, again, he does not have false beliefs. What he says does not line up with his beliefs, but that's conscious, as Shane just pointed out. Oh my God, this author. Yet it is not the falsity of beliefs which entails the stupidity, but the underlying etiology. In Bob's case, he possesses all the right conceptual tools and is not stupid but biased. Yeah, that's fair. In Chloe's case, the problem is not actually stupidity, but another set of commitments which mimic its effects. Yeah, she's just following a script. The same applies if you frame things in terms of understanding rather than belief. Chloe misunderstands addiction, but she does not misunderstand the theory. She is not actually stupid, just behaving as if she were. Yeah, let's whip out etiology. Yeah, this is, let's call all big words. Now I just want to go redefine this, because this is what happens. Like, this is just wrong. I want to make sure I don't fuck up the definition here. So, an inquiry into a theory or the physical cause of any class of phenomena, specifically in medicine, an inquiry into our account of the origin or causes of disease, of a particular kind of case of disease, sometimes written differently. Yeah, it's like, where did this come from? What is the physical thing? Like, this is like just throwing words around at this point. Okay. Author's theory implies a range of distinctions among these cases. Of course, one could instead lump every possible epistemic shortcoming, including Bob's motivated reasoning, together onto the banner of stupidity. Shut the fuck up, like, author. Come on, man. It's like, you could do a worse job than me. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. But, like, that's not saying anything. Bar is too low. But that would be to reject a relatively sharp taxonomical tool for a much blunter one. It's like, okay, yeah, you're saying the bar is so low. Insofar as we are committed to understanding the phenomenon, that seems like a piece of conceptual self-hampering. See, again, they shifted here. They said you could do things differently, and you could do things worse than I'm doing them, but you wouldn't do that because it's stupid. Yes, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean your theory is good, author. It just means there are worse theories. No shit. But, like, no theory is basically worse than your theory, and that's what you're saying. No theory here. Shane says it's really fucking ironic that he brings that up. Yeah, like, really fucking ironic. Because if he had been more determined to explain the reason he came to use these specific examples, he would have been aware that his model is about as thick as tissue paper. And Laura has already gotten to that spot. Yeah. Like, did you actually also use tissue paper as the example? Okay, finally a few remarks. Yeah, we're getting to the end here. Finally, a few remarks to an individual's goal built into the notion of self-hampering. There is, of course, a vast literature on the scope of such goals, for example, whether they include counterfactual extrapolations about what he or she would desire under other circumstances. My position is neutral on such issues, however, there are 3 points worth highlighting. First, my theory privileges epistemic humility. Insofar as stupidity arises from a particular kind of mismatch between means and ends, agents who scale back their ends when they recognize the limits of the concepts they are working with will no longer be stupid. Yeah, see, finally we get to self-reflection here. This is actually not bad. So once you scale back the ends, once you recognize the limits of the concepts you are working with, so once you do self-reflection, you are not stupid anymore. This is correct. Unfortunately, the author should have brought this up way earlier. Yeah. I mean, not as good as a writer. No, Shane's really good at stuff. If you need fancier ways to insult bullshit, yeah, Shane's good. Consider a case which neatly highlights the compatibility of stupidity with intelligence. We are suddenly faced with some entirely new field of quantum research for which our existing concepts are grossly inadequate. And notice they use the wrong R here. Our, not R. Like, now I'm just getting annoyed with them. Do we have the... no, I don't have the cross out anymore. But, like, yeah, they just no, this. Now I'm just getting petty. Which our existing concepts are grossly inadequate. Jo is a practitioner in the field. She thinks of her work as attempting to make incremental progress, so enabling future study. Tom is also a practitioner with a more grandiose vision of his aims. For him, it is about grasping the fundamental nature of phenomena in question. To be fair, most scientists think they are trying to understand the truth about what nature is. Given the stipulated inadequacy of our concepts with respect to this phenomena, Tom's behavior is stupid, Jo's is not. Yeah, but no one knows that. No one knows the way science is at the get-go. This is only in reflection. You can't go back and be like, oh, they were stupid. No, that's unfair to the people working at the time. No problem, Shane. Continuing. One might object that this diagnosis encourages a form of conservatism. What about benefits of aiming beyond our means, of a reach that extends our grasp. Yeah, exactly. This is why sciences do this, is because you think you're getting at something worthwhile, not just like, oh, I'm like helping the current theory. There are two responses here. On the one hand, when we find such cases admirable, it is often because they do not manifest a real misalignment of means to ends. Fair, because usually the scientists are all working together. The resistance fighter who refuses to surrender in the face of hopeless odds may have as her end something other than simple victory, for example, as an act of symbolic sacrifice. On the other, when such cases do involve a similar instrumental shortfall to Tom's, some admiration for them is fully compatible with their being stupid. A chess player who is forced to undertake an extremely risky strategy because he hasn't grasped the concept of the Steinitz defense might naturally be described by his peers as brave but stupid. Yeah, I mean, there's like a better way to do it. But like, the fact that they didn't know it is actually admirable, because then they came up with something, maybe not as good. And so like, this is interesting. Like the fact that they were able to blaze some other trail when there was one better to them, but they didn't know it. It's like, are we saying they're stupid or ignorant? That's what we call ignorant. And again, this author is like, yeah, no. Second, whilst my theory risks returning to what might be a counterintuitive result with respect to ancient science, the problem can be managed. You see, someone this is probably a reviewer said, what about ancient science? They had no idea what they were doing. They thought they were getting the truth, and it worked. See, this is the thing. Practice. This is how this actually happened to be. Who cares what the people are thinking at the moment? They're not being stupid. It doesn't matter. Second, so consider the case of Aristotle's physics. If you assume that it had the same aims as its modern equivalent, why would you fucking assume that? You should never assume that. Aristotle's aims are not the same as a modern equivalent. It's like aims... Was Aristotle doing the same shit we are? No. Aristotle didn't think he was doing what we did. Why would you hold Aristotle to contemporary standards? It's fucking rude. It comes out as stupid given the difficulties of many of his key concepts. Well, they know that. Or at least they know this. But it comes out as stupid. Don't call Aristotle stupid, because he's not stupid. What's that movie? Remember. It's like, it's one of the Rude. Oh, God. I'm trying to remember what it is. Yeah, it's rude. Like, why would you hold people to, like, standards that have nothing to do with them? So there are several options here. Yeah, don't do it. I'm trying to remember, goddamn, what's rude? There's some lady yelling rude in my head. But like, yeah. Because when it was like completely out of not rude or something. But yeah. I'll think of it eventually. There are several options here. One is to deny that Aristotle in fact had the same goals as contemporary physicists. Of course he fucking didn't. Perhaps he was targeting a very different kind of explanatory coherence. Yes. That's basically true. Another is to argue he possessed the kind of epistemic humility just discussed. If his aim was to enable incremental predictive progress, why the fuck would you say that? You could go look at what Aristotle says. He never says anything like that. Rather, if he said anything like that, you could go quote him. Like you could. That's not what he says. Rather than understand the fundamental nature of gravitation, he clearly succeeded. He didn't say that shit. He never said that shit. Aristotle has, the way the world is set up is like teleological or whatever that is. He's never doing this. The Aristotle move is so much better than this. Yeah, of course. Aristotle's a much better philosopher. It's not even like, you say Aristotle's a better philosopher. Like, that's rude to Aristotle that you put him in the same class with this, like, clown. Yeah, like, it's just no. All right. A third is to accept that Aristotle was stupid, but to deny that this particular instance, like, this is reductio ad absurdum at this point. Aristotle, if anything, is not stupid. All right. A third is to accept that Aristotle was stupid, but to deny that this particular instance of stupidity was culpable. Given the epistemic and technological state at his time, he could never be reasonably expected to have developed the conceptual apparatus of post-Einsteinian physics. Yeah, like, this is reductio ad absurdum levels of, like, bullshit at this point. Like, of course he didn't fucking know. Like, obviously so. Like, the fact that this is, like, on your radar is ludicrous. This move allows one to maintain culpability for Hague. Yeah, like, why would you... Like, the worst possible thing is what saves their theory. The worst possible take is what they need. Oh, my God. Alternative ways of conceptualizing the front were reasonably available, as shown by the fact that contemporaries possessed them. Okay, that's fair, but Aristotle didn't have that on the thing. The same thing you leveraged. Yeah, well, this is the same thing you leveraged at him at the outset. Like, surprisingly, I don't change my mind. Once I get it in my head, it's the way it is. But that also assumes that Aristotle would not be able to understand it if it was explained to him. And we don't know that. Well, which one are you saying, Shane? The third one here? Yeah, I guess it'd have to be the third one. And, yeah, you see, but again, this is like trying to rewrite history. And it's like, it doesn't even like track. Like the idea that we can rewrite history here is like ridiculous. So the fact that Rohr on the German side had, different concepts available to him. See, now we'd need to actually know what was available to Hegel, and the idea that there were different ways of conceptualizing it that were actually as good as what Hegel thought he had. The idea that like there are different general had other ideas, that doesn't necessarily mean that Hegel was being stupid. If we took Aristotle and put him in a physics class, would he have the capacity to follow? Why is that? Yeah, this is the problem, is why is it even an example? This is what I'm saying. It's reductive ad absurdum. This makes almost no sense at this point. And the fact that the author needs this for their argument is even like laughable. So this is an actual question of like World War I history here. What did Rohr have versus Hegel? And if Hegel and Rohr had the same information, then maybe you could say Hegel was stupider than Rohr for making the decisions he did. But that's not what was being said here. This is not the paradigm. Oh yeah, this is the problem for this literature, is what Prof. Lahr is bringing up, is that they like talking about this Hegel example and it seems terrible. Okay, but I don't know the World War I history here, and so this is really a problematic thing. What did Rohr know that Hegel didn't, or vice versa? So, like, what was the options? Okay, one might also emphasize, to avoid any Whiggish implications, that modern science itself almost certainly remains admired in stupidity, albeit perhaps of a marginally diminished form. Indeed, one might view science itself as an ongoing, heroic but necessarily piecemeal struggle with human stupidity. Alright, I mean, cutesy but unnecessary, author. A fourth option would be to weaken the ties between culpability and blame globally. I argue below that this is an attractive option once we set that the primary source of stupidity are not individuals but conceptual traditions. Oh my god, really? Oh my god, really? Insofar as stupidity is not straightforwardly culpable and sharply distinguished from intelligence, the counterintuitive force of labeling early and contemporary scientists stupid would be minimized. Oh my god, like seriously. Shane says Hegel and Rohr didn't have the same information, nor did they have the same latitude to act. See, this is why I like Shane here, because I didn't have I needed some actual answers. Shane brought it up, and it shows that the author, again, didn't know what the fuck they were thinking about in this case. Germany had a much easier time breaking British code during World War I. Their cryptographic capabilities were hella more advanced. And so it's like, not only is this author wrong, they're getting the history wrong and the facts wrong. So this alternative ways of conceptualizing the front were reasonably available, as shown by the fact that the contemporaries possessed them. See, they didn't have the same information. Shane can pull this information up. The author doesn't even have the facts of their example right. They don't have the facts. Brilliant. I didn't even think to check something like this. Well, this is why we like having Shane around. But like, I pointed it out. I knew that this was a question, but like, this is the problem, because this is empirical. This is an empirical thing. I mean, I can tell that, but I just don't know the answers to empirical questions because I'm a jackass in my armchair. All right. Third, my goal would be affected by a blanket skepticism, epistemic or metaphysical, about goals. For example, if we never know an individual's goals, we will never be able to tell who is stupid. This is fair. Like, if you don't know what they're up to, then maybe they want something you don't understand, and what it looks like they're up to, like, may look stupid, but, you know, you don't know what they're up to. The issue here is a quite general one about such skepticism rather than anything specific to do with my view. Such a skeptic would owe us, amongst so much else, a total reconstruction of our legal and other folk psychological frameworks. That's excessive, but whatever. In any case, my aim is to establish what stupidity is, rather than what is stupid. I have thus presented the Hegel case in purely conditional terms. As a result, even a global epistemic skepticism about goals would have only limited impact. My theory would still adequately characterize stupidity, even if we could not be certain in our identification of individual cases. I mean, this is when you should know you're getting way too far out into the philosophical weeds. You should be able to, within reason, at least point to some paradigm examples that are like just not ex post facto, like, because this came from the Hegel case. But you should be able to little point at other things that are obviously stupid in like general terms. Like otherwise it's like completely pointless. It's like, well, I can't ever identify anything. And this is again why this is going to get like a lot of grapes from me. It's shriveling up. They said they were going to give us a theory of stupid, but then they never can actually tell us what is stupid in the particular. Okay, assessing and contextualizing the proposed theory. I now compare my theory to the desiderata from Section 1. I also return to the task begun in Section 2 of contrasting it with its competitors. The first desideratum was that any theory should provide a clear story as to the relationship between intelligence, stupidity, in both its higher and mundane forms, foolishness and dumbness. My account does this. It clearly distinguishes the different shortcomings and explains why that difference matters. The problem with Haig, assuming the version of history above, was not sheer dumbness, and many of those trapped in what I call the intellectual prison of British strategy were highly intelligent. Shane says, the argument that Haig was stupid mostly came from politicians that trashed him during the war, but it was because they fundamentally didn't fucking understand tactics. Thank you. Helpful. And see, this is the problem. And the philosopher, and like these philosophers just assume that without knowing the history. That's terrible. Haig didn't always make good decisions, true, but he was fighting a war that literally no one had ever fought before. I was trying to say that earlier, too. I said, look, this author here is not appreciating making decisions under limited information. That's one of the things I criticized them on earlier, is they really don't understand, like, doing stuff under the fog of war. And so it's a bad problem. I think this author really lacks in practical understanding of things. Prof says, I hate that he runs the Desader at the very end. If he did this in Section 1, I would have known to stop reading. Yeah, that's what you're saying you were pointing to earlier. Ah, okay. If there's no precedent for taking out a German machine gun bunker, how the fuck do you do it? Exactly. Yeah, fog of war, duress, limited information, and limited concepts of like, and limited understanding of sort of new techniques, like modern technology. I was saying this earlier. We've got drone warfare going on in Ukraine, and we're finding out in real time what works and what doesn't. And like, this is the sort of thing. And are we stupid for doing things the way we're doing them now? No. We might be ignorant, but like, that's okay. Like, that's not a problem. We're finding out. But like, anyone on any side of the war at the moment knows there's problems with understanding what the fuck is going on. We just don't understand, and we're not stupid because of this. We're doing what we can, whatever it is that we can do for this stuff. All right, so author says, what was missing was some form of conceptual innovation and intelligence is not sufficient to guarantee that one might need other factors such as imagination. To guarantee it, yeah. This matters for the same reason in the laziness case. Simply replacing Haig with a more intelligent officer steeped in the traditions would have made little difference. Shane says, you can't retrain your entire troop corps to handle new challenges. You use the tools you have to try things based on the things within your possibility. And that's the other thing. This person doesn't understand training and practice. And that's like the other thing that's really important here, is that with practice and training, you can identify more things than you could when you were untrained and unpracticed. And it's incredible to me that this author doesn't understand this sort of thing. Shane says it was fucking tragic that they kept rushing over the top, but there's a reason that Haig won. It's like, I don't even know the history here. Like, did Haig win in the end? I don't know. But all right, I mean, too many people die, but that's war. As for foolishness, I have used this as an umbrella term for the vast array of prudential misjudgments and errors to which we are prone. Foolishness thus lacks the characteristic etiology and effects of stupidity. Again, this is significant because it speaks to how we deal with the problem. Consider this from the psychologist Robert Sternberg. Quote, was Neville Chamberlain stupid to keep appeasing Hitler? Not in any dictionary sense. Chamberlain was able to give any number of reasons why he was acting cautiously, and he was able to convince many people that he was taking the intelligent course of action. But he was being foolish. He was lacking in good sense and judgment. Well, it looks like, yeah. Well, I don't know the history again. MDD, you're not really feeling this one? No. Every so often, like, this happens every so often that something just is not the way, something wrong. And like I said, my criticism is of the author, not even their writing. Prof. Lara mentioned this too. This is a well-structured written paper. Like, I'm not been angry except for one little part of the example. One example really pissed me off in terms of like just wasting my time. But after that, like, this is actually like really well done. It's just shit underneath. So this is like it's unusual, very unusual. This person has spent too much time in school, perhaps. but like I'm criticizing who the person is here, which I normally don't do, but like they're annoying me. Yeah. For me, this is the author. For the author, there are two very different things that might have gone wrong with Chamberlain. On the one hand, he might have been foolish making bad calls for a host of possible reasons. Critics and defenders have suggested everything from vanity to party political pressure to profound pacifism. On the other, he might have made a bad judgment for a very specific reason. He might have employed a concept which undercut his own aims. What concept? Well, without addressing the historical details, why the fuck not? I mean, wouldn't it make a difference if he was actually being stupid and you could show that? One attractive option is that Chamberlain failed to adequately grasp the concept of fascism. He failed to just understand how different it was from right-wing nationalism. What? Yeah, but see, the author here is also not explaining this. And so we're supposed to understand that this isn't somehow bad without actually the author explaining why it's bad. And so it's like, okay, then we're going to call them stupid in just by fiat because of how the author is defining this shit. What the fuck? Yet try to understand. All right, continuing. Yet try to understand Hitler in terms of any other concept would be stupid. There are a million other ways to talk about Hitler too. You can also talk about fascism, but there are lots of other ways to talk about Hitler, and they're not stupid. It's just it depends on your purpose. Again, the author doesn't understand what they're saying. The author's account thus allows us to mark two very different possible deficiencies in Chamberlain's approach. These two may intersect, as with the pig-headed case discussed above. It may be vanity, which meant he did not rethink the concepts in play, yet they remain separate and can easily occur independently. You would have quoted the expert consensus issue if there is one. Exactly. So not only is this bad, this is coming off also as a little bit lazy. Like the way they structure this is not terrible. They say, look, this is just a theoretical example, but the problem is, couldn't they have found a better fucking example that actually demonstrated stupid? So it's like you could have done better, but they didn't. And so this person's coming off as, it's not terrible philosophy because you can make up your own examples in philosophy, of course. But like they could have had an actual example here. Shane says that's why the politicians hated him. Haig was British. The British took enormous losses, almost an entire generation. Yeah, it's sad. And that did not play well at home. Tons of the criticism leveled at him were follow like that. Well, we made progress, but it didn't get us votes. Yeah. Okay. So, author continues. The second desideratum considered Musil's higher and attractive stupidity. On my account, stupidity is often attractive because the conditions that create it are correlated with other desirable factors. Yeah, this is fair. But this is Musil's theory too. That you have some other goal in mind and then you make a mistake. The cavalry general is hostile to conceptual innovation precisely because he identifies strongly with the traditions of the service. God fucking damn it. It's not the traditions of the service. It's that's how you know how to get shit done. This is the practicalities of the service in concert with the traditions. It was a stupid example. Yes. Oh my God. Given his role, this is a desirable trait and one that the military tried to ingrain, but it can lead to a conservatism that can easily become stupid. That's fair, but again, you have to understand the practicalities of life, which this author has ignored systematically throughout this paper. Alright, continuing more broadly, for reasons noted when contrasting Haig with the imaginary general who possessed only the concept of battle, the stupid approaches sound prima facie plausible. It may be only time which reveals that they were stupid all along. A related and interesting case occurs when stupidity and innovation start to align. As Musil observed, if there was not some correlation between stupidity and progress, talent, hope, or improvement, no one would want to be stupid. Let me give an example. As in the Haig case, I do not defend its factual accuracy, since the accuracy is moot. I use a recent informal exposition of the idea because it provides a concise formulation. The political philosopher Joseph Heath recently made the following claim regarding social changes in Canada. Quote, many social justice advocates in Canada have been pushing fairly hard for a number of social problems that were traditionally framed in terms of immigration and ethnicity and multiculturalism to be reframed in terms of race and anti-discrimination. The Toronto Star has been particularly relentless in its campaign to racialize a huge number of issues. Thinking about Canada's social problems in terms of race actually strikes me as a terrible idea and as a setback to the cause of social justice and, for what it's worth, multicultural integration. Also, I must confess, underlying my concern is a suspicion that it represents a form of creeping Americanism or of cognitive capture of Canadian activists and elites by American public discourse. End quote. Whether Heath is right is beyond this paper. What is important is that if he is right, this is a case where it becomes attractive for intelligent people to act as if they were stupid. Now, don't assume just because we're American we're stupid and the creeping Americanism is stupid. I mean, it's true, but don't act that way. But don't say that. Because not by definition that we're stupid here in the U.S. Deliberately reframing a debate in racial terms is a complex thing to do, and the Star's reporters are undoubtedly smart people. It is also easy to see why this might seem an attractive and progressive thing to do, partly as Heath alludes, because it follows work by American activists. But it might nevertheless be the specific circumstances of Canadian society makes this reconceptualization deeply damaging to these reporters' own goals such as social justice. As Bird and Hills have argued, creativity need not itself be valuable. Stupid conceptual innovation would be a prime case. Yeah, so if you're doing something for progress sake, that could be stupid. And if they think this reconceptualization is like progress for progress sake, just like, it's a good new idea, it may not be a good idea. That would be stupid. That's fair. Yeah, a posteriori stupid. Yeah. What complicates such cases is that, unlike individuals who fail to develop some necessary new concepts, maladaptive innovation won't automatically lead to the loss of old concepts. Yeah, sure. At least at the start, the Star's reporters are making an error in switching from one framework to another, but they are not stupid. Maybe they are, but we don't know yet. However, the dominance of the new framework, when coupled with those social features that make its use so attractive, can quickly lead to people acting as if they are stupid, losing cognitive access to and fluency with the old set of conceptual apparatus in line with the second disjunctive conjunct 2. This phenomenon will be particularly dangerous when the carrot of social attraction is coupled with the stick of social pressures against thinking in the prior terms. The result will be innovative, population-wide outbreaks of stupidity. Yeah, so if you are just pushing dumb ideas throughout the country without thinking it through, then yes, you get stupid shit and you're welcome to America. And that is the problem with a lot of American discourse. Or they do it for bad reasons. But again, it's not necessarily bad reasons, it's for politically efficient ones here. Okay, the third desideratum concerned graduality. See, I'm not actually angry with this example. This example from Musil is okay. But again, the fact that this is not what their theory was going in for, really. They were saying this isn't stupid at first. They're acting as if they're stupid. I just say they are stupid, is the problem. And I'm losing my mind at this point, so I'm sorry if I say stupid things. Actually stupid things right now. But, we have to get to... Oh, man. Okay, to 26. More on 23. The third desideratum concerned graduality and is easily dealt with. On my account, individuals and groups can be more or less stupid along multiple lines. The shortcoming will vary depending on how damaging the relevant concept is to their ends, how entrenched it is in their apparatus, how many such stupid concepts are in play, to what degree they lack concepts involved or have merely limited access to them, and so on. This brings me to the final desideratum. The theory should speak to some of the underlying issues in the philosophy of mind. There are countless topics one might address here, like many positions on many issues. My theory assumes but does not provide some account of concepts, but I will focus on 4. Why are you ranting, author? I don't care about your philosophy of mind if this is your philosophy of stupid. First, my theory rejects a view of stupidity as a congenital deficiency that cannot be rectified. Such a view might follow from equating stupidity with dumbness, which you've been doing all the fucking time. But it also appears in other theories such as Kant's. For me, in contrast, the problem is typically a failure to acquire or update one's conceptual tools. Yeah, why did they never talk about updating? Oh my god. Especially when there has been some significant change in external circumstances, such as the invention of machine guns. There is no a priori reason why it cannot be rectified. Yes, there is. It's not like it's easy to understand new technology. It's very difficult. Although doing so is a delicate and conceptual rhetorical task. See that? You just said it's a delicate and conceptual rhetorical task. It's hard. That's why you don't do it so quickly. It's not so easy. Fucking author. Second, my theory sees stupidity as a fostering failures in both understanding and knowledge. Both are bound up with what I call the explanatory role a concept seeks to play. Elgin has argued that contemporary epistemology fosters an unwitting bias towards stupidity, insofar as it promotes knowledge at the expense of understanding. Does it? I mean, who's actually listening to epistemologists when deciding what to learn? No one That's not why anyone goes to epistemology. But I guess that's Elgin's problem from 1988. Shane says, it's really easy to overhaul an entire military from the ground up in the middle of a war. Yeah, fucking duh, plebs. Exactly. Like, what is this? Like, they say it's hard to do. Like, oh my god. Again, there is something more to be said here. Concepts are entrenched, but but people are entrenched too. Like, militaries have, like, you know, you just can't change everything all at once. It's not like things shift on a dime. Changing people, changing ideas. These are not easy things to do. This author is treating it like, oh yeah, well, this isn't the way it was. We have to come up with a new idea. When you've had people's lives on the line, like in war, you don't just try some random fucking theory and be like, oh yeah, we're just going to do that and like throw lots of soldiers at it. That's how people die. Like, you just don't do that. Like, it's an unserious viewpoint, especially if you're a leader. And so it's like, they say it's delicate conceptual and rhetorical task, but like they're not treating it as delicate at all. So it's just very weird. Okay. So we're talking about, like, again, this is something I don't understand here. I mean, does contemporary epistemology promote knowledge at the expense of understanding? Maybe, but like that's a sociological question about how people are treating epistemology. But okay, but on the author's account, these shortcomings are typically found together. When Chamberlain conceptualizes Hitler as a standard nationalist, he seeks to understand his actions, and that explanation implies putative facts about Hitler's future behavior. You know, again, this is so easy to counterexample that, like, it's just like, it's almost like I feel bad. But the whole point of bringing Hitler up and stuff is that, like, he was the grand evil. How could Chamberlain have known that Hitler was the grand evil when he hadn't dealt with the grand evil before? And so it's like, how would he assume Hitler was the grand evil at that point? Shane says he's equating the sort of fake news ideological spreading with, we recognize that things need to change but have legitimate social political reasons that they bog us down. Okay, so Elgin's good, but this guy is a crap, whoever this is, this Golob. I'm assuming it's a guy, I think, from the picture. I apologize if I got your pronouns wrong. Yeah, like, this is just... Yeah, like you were bringing up the propaganda examples before. It's like, this guy's falling for the propaganda. It's weird. Another way to put the point is that, as stressed in section 3, my account distinguishes stupidity from both error and misunderstanding. Those are first-order phenomena where stupidity refers to a possible set of causes and effects for such phenomena. That's fair. There are other large-scale questions in play here which I cannot address. For example, I appeal to concept, possession, and accessibility. One might argue that these are reduced to knowledge of some proposition, perhaps one stating truths concerning the concept that would be compatible with my model, which would then track how failures of such knowledge leads to self-hampering, including failures of knowledge in other simpler senses. That's all fine. Third, I suggest that a theory should engage with what I call stupidity's apparent domain specificity. This is done by building in references to the hampering of particular ends. An individual will rarely be simply stupid simplicator. My approach with this focus on individual goals may, if anything, seem too fine-grained. However, goals and the concepts necessary for them form natural domains. Someone who is stupid with respect to one form of financial investment will often be stupid with respect to another due to the same conceptual shortcomings. This matches the standard usage on which someone may be stupid financially. That is relative to a set of goals and concepts, whilst being far from stupid when it comes to, say, theology. Finally, this brings me to the issue of acts, individuals, and groups. What should be the focus of our effort in combating stupidity? Engel recently advanced a sophisticated theory on which stupidity, when distinct from dumbness, lies in a kind of epistemic vice which consists in a failure to respect intellectual virtues. Quote, there is a kind of stupidity which does not consist in failing to reach epistemic goal, be it truth, knowledge, of understanding, but in failing to have a proper conception of it, and if one does have such an appreciation, in failing to respect it. Okay, so if you don't know what knowledge is, you're shooting at the wrong goal, I guess. Yeah. He identifies this superior form of epistemic vice with Musil's intelligent stupidity. An epistemic vice is presumably a person-level property and an attribute of a particular individual. In contrast, my approach is both much more specific and much broader. In line with my definition, an individual is stupid only relative to a particular goal. As noted, it will be rare to speak of a person's supplicator as stupid, and when that occurs, it will typically be due to other failings. For example, as a compulsive stubbornness that inhibits concept acquisition across multiple concepts. Shane says, no, he can't do that. He can't argue that stupidity happens within individual decisions, but then argue at the same time that his own definition of lack of knowledge, thus causing multiple errors, is also stupid. Yeah, this is like, the problem is when you get, when you say sort of vague and like not very clear things in your theory, you can do this sort of thing. It's sort of like an ad hoc application of their theory because it's just so muddled to begin with. It's like you can't do it on individual decisions and then say it's at the second level. And that's the author's problem here. They want to be able to have it both ways. They want, because they were just saying in the previous paragraph that it's like a second order thing. It tells you why the decisions were stupid. And then when they come here, you want to be able to say of particular things. But yes, like you nailed it. It's like they're just using the words in different ways at different times when it suits them. Okay, so the author says, because the root cause of stupidity is an impoverished conceptual stock, and it is intellectual or cultural traditions rather than individuals that are the primary loci of such stock. Whilst an individual may take from multiple traditions or make conceptual innovations of her own, the vast majority of us inherit the vast majority of our concepts from the surrounding society. In that sense, whilst Engel defends a virtue model of stupidity, my approach is closer to a public health one. Frank says, why would you want to say a person is stupid when making this exact decision and no other, instead of saying they are making a stupid decision? Well, you don't want to limit, I guess, to answer your question very specifically, you'd say they're being stupid when doing this and not anything else, because you want to limit what you're, claiming is stupid. So, not only are they making a stupid decision, they're being stupid because you might want to say that they have the wrong ideas about it and they've sort of misapplied their ideas. So it's not just that they've made a bad decision, it's that they've gone about their reasoning in a bad way. I can see why you might want to say that. But this author can't have it both ways. That's the issue here too. But you could say they've gone about their reasoning stupidly and then that resulted in a bad decision. Or you could say they made a bad decision in which they sort of had the right ideas, but then they just sort of misapplied the terms. And so they got the wrong answer, even though they had sort of a good background theory. Splitting hairs. This author tries to have it every which way they want and it doesn't work. And I'm losing my brain at the moment, so I'm going to be saying dumb things too. Stupid things too. Let me just get through this paragraph. Rather than thinking in terms of individuals guilty of vices or other quasi-moral notions, we should think at the population level. Particular traditions may be reservoirs of stupidity, stuffed with maladaptive concepts, and liable to infect anyone trained in them. This is just hilariously bad. This would mesh neatly with a global non-blame approach to stupidity as discussed at the end of section 3, given the natural assumption that the conceptual traditions are not themselves appropriately treated as either culpable or non-culpable. If the reading of Haig above is accurate, which it is not, then the focus of our assessment and remediation should not be him, but the system of officer training from which he came. This is saying it's all society's fault. You're not stupid. It's society's fault. You've been taught bad things, and it's all society's fault. This is just terrible. No. It's yeah, if it's society's fault, we've inherited bad ideas. Okay, you do the best with what you can, but you're not being stupid. That's like saying nature is stupid. Nature is stupid. It has many bad things in it. It's stupid. It should be better. Nature isn't stupid. It's just the way the world is. You inherit the way the world is, and nature isn't stupid. But that's kind of what's getting said here. Anyway, we're done. It took a long time, and we are done. It took over 2 hours of reading this, and now we can review it. So everyone here is now welcome to review. Please see the emotes on screen. Did this have fun ideas? Did it make your brain dance? A little bit of fun. You write down brain dance, which is all the way on the other side. Not right here, but all the way over there. But as I said, this is going to get some grapes because it made big fucking claims and then it backed that up. It said, no, it's not actually what I meant to say. Nog grape. So we're getting 2 of those. We're also getting nog turd. We're getting 2 nog turds because it pretended like it was doing good arguments and it was terrible. We're getting vote nay on this from me. We're going to get a second. This is getting doubled up on everything. Vote nay. And you know, I think that's basically how I feel. And we need a what's it called? One of these grapes for DCI. I'll have to add that later. But yeah, that's how it's going for me. But everyone else is also willing. Please put the emotes in chat if you want to. I'll leave the screen up for another minute. Thank you, Ivan. And these will eventually go up on the website. And so everyone will be able to see that this is the worst reviewed paper we have at the moment. What if it has neither style nor substance? You could, I think that's the grapes, is that it claimed to do stuff and then it failed. Yeah, you're welcome, Prof. Yeah. But like, Shane says, me, you missed a subtle point here. He says that society is made of stupid and our ideas from society are flawed. That means that we have to accept that his ideas here are better than since they are new. You know, that's interesting. That like, yeah, anything new is good in this theory. That's right, Shane. Anything new is different from like the crappy ideas we've inherited from society. So like, that is actually kind of a funny consequence of this theory. It's that because we've inherited all this garbage from history, anything different is good, which is clearly false, but that's kind of something here. MDD says he tried to do way too much. Yeah, he tried to get a global theory and failed. You know, and that's funny. That puts him in with the stupid scientist that's trying to get the truth and didn't realize that they should have just been building on another theory. Frank says, I'm finding it hard to decide how I feel about the paper because I continually forgot that they were trying to call people stupid instead of actions, and it just kept making me go, wait, what? Yeah. Yeah, because they were... That's the problem, because they were not very specific when they were talking. They were sliding them back and forth between the way they were referring to things. Okay, yeah. Have a great stream, Prof. Yeah, he may have been playing like Bloodborne this time. I don't even know. That's funny. But yeah, this is the thing. The author wanted to have it all different ways. They wanted to say basically conceptual structures are things that are making us stupid. And so it wasn't really the acts themselves, but sort of like this global sort of misapplication of concepts. Goal directed too. And so it's just like, you could call things stupid because you could say they were the result of misapplication of concepts, but that was not quite it. It's kind of like the person is being stupid when they are using these like bad concepts. And it's like, yeah, but then why didn't the person have any reflection, practice, training, or anything like that? And that's just like the time and time again when we were reading through this, I kept saying things like that. If you have bad concepts, that's kind of on you, that you have to learn to use them better or get new ones or things like that. And it's like the fact that this person didn't understand that you have become an expert because you understand the concept so well and how they get applied just is a complete failure of the practicality of understanding of practicality and doing things in pragmatically and stuff like that. Okay, so thank you, Prof. Thank you, Frank, big time for getting your rating in. But like I guess that'll be it, and we will go on.